Holler if you hear me, and welcome to this special little New Year's Day chill stream. I know I sound a little different. I'm still recovering from the big head cold that I got from visiting my sister in Chicago, but I did feel better enough waking up to be able to go and actually have, solid food and exercise this morning, and also had, solid food again for dinner. So improvements, and I have had, enough energy to be able to, even after the, exercising this morning, to go move around. I'm still snowed in essentially. What you saw yesterday with that footage I shot of my front door at night is now it looks exactly the same today. And yeah, that is exactly what is the right type of advantageous climate to be in when you're recovering from an illness. You're living out here in a Michigan winter and a Michigan January. And yeah, so this is the right time to stay in with, the water right here. Second big bottle of the day. And even though I can't really call it a fast like I was before, as now that I've actually had, no actual meals in this day, today, I've still been going with the tea regularly. I think I'm on to my sixth cup today. So that's been helping. And I should be up to, I would say at this point, the voice should like lower it back down a little bit come Saturday or Sunday, and then I'll be full on, feeling better. Under my eyes, I don't really that like yesterday and on Tuesday there was discoloration under my eyes, which is a real big sign of toxemia. If you see people like that, people that aren't sleeping, and if it's not people who are having trouble sleeping, and you're seeing like dark, discoloration of their eyes, that usually means they've got some health problems, and the appropriate vernacular is toxemia. Which me, yeah, having this horrible head cold, having that toxemia under the eyes made sense as opposed to Vito Gaswaldi having it like that. Mainly because he's just an evil, sick child molester, and of course, he's going to have that type of horrible discoloration under the eyes because his idea of a good meal are microwave burritos and the blood and semen of defenseless children. And that's something that, we don't really have to bring up. I mean, it's something I'm not informing you about it, and I will keep bringing up. I'll not stop bringing it up. I mean, because, well, a new year, but there's the same obstacles out there. Like the fact that Vito Giswaldi and Vosh are not in prison for merely being themselves, because they're the kind of people that want to put people in prison for opposing them or making fun of them in any way. So them both being child molesters with no talent, they deserve what it is they want to prescribe to everybody else, which is always with those type of left-wing leaning pieces of garbage anyway. They deserve and always deserve whatever it is they want everyone else to have. The same way that they're always currently guilty of whatever they're currently accusing you. E.g., Bill Clinton has always been guilty of whatever the media is lying about Trump being guilty of. And most especially with all those privately leaked photos from the Epstein files coming forward showing that, oh no, it was Clinton that was practically the Lolita Express conductor. Not that any of that will ever get brought up, at least not by the asswipes over at MSNBC. The type of tea that my sister got me in that big package as one of my Christmas presents, I actually finished that up earlier today, so I had to go and break into back into the big green tea box that I had before and going through that. And the green tea properties also does really well when it comes to antioxidants and all that to help with overcoming a cold. Probably also why, there's the lack of the discoloration under the eyes now, but also blueberries, actually. The nice big package of dried blueberries that I've been using in the pancakes I've been making over the weekends. Well, I mixed them into the oatmeal I had because, yeah, I felt like, keeping it simple with just, having the oatmeal, which all that took was, getting the tea kettle going and then pouring that in before it really starts, whistling and going to boil and stirring it up and having that with the blueberries mixed in. And let's see, let's actually go and all Google this together. We can all look at the context together of what is green tea effect. Actually, no, yeah, let's. help with recovery from a cold. And yes, green tea is good for a cold because its antioxidants, uh, catechins, and compounds like L-theanine and vitamin C help support the immune system, fight inflammation, and may reduce infection risk, while the warm liquid soothes congestion and hydrates you. While more research is needed for definitive proof, studies suggest it can help prevent colds and flu, and drinking it can lower symptom severity, especially with additions like honey or lemon. Well, I don't have any lemon, but I do have plenty of honey. And usually when I make tea, I have that honey in there. I've also been now these last few days, during the tea fast and all that now today, been having honey and cinnamon with it, which has been helping. Although, yeah, I do notice that, yeah, my voice sounds a lot more bass and a lot lower now than it did with before. But I mean, if that's part of decongesting and all of that, like what I had for dinner afterwards, I also had one of the oranges I still have. And yeah, the vitamin C in there, and just that being, a citrus kind of fruit also helps as a one of nature's decongestions. And well, considering just how much I've always had nasal problems or congestion problems and all that, although not as much in the now that we're almost up to a full year since my father's death, I've noticed I've had a lot less sinus problems. I've been a lot less congested. I've had a lot less sinus problems like that, barring this cold. But then again, that's me, going to Chicago. The fact that, I got this kind of disease, catching a cold like that is not the worst possible thing I could have caught. And we got Nick in the chat to say, I'm glad you're feeling better. I got my lunch earlier today. Well, that's nice right there. And a little applause sign. Yeah, well, the green tea I've been getting into now because of that tea that my sister got me wiped out. I wiped that out today. Yeah, I'm on to like my sixth cup, I think it is, while also having the regular water. And also, well, I didn't have orange juice today, but I did have an orange with the dinner I made, which was full of all kinds of spice, which, helped with, getting my bowels working again, as well as being able to go and blow my nose. Like today, I had a lot of like strange dark green stuff, when blowing my nose, which, well, pushing getting all of that out, well, that's what you need. You need all that to be, hankering out your nose, or hacking it up. And I don't know what it is with my father, but for as long as I can remember, as far back as I can remember, he had some type of sinus or congestion problem, because he would always, if you'd be around him long enough, he'd always just start randomly like making loud, obnoxious, like trying to gross you out, like hacking noises, like he was about to go and try to spit in your face or something. And well, I've noticed that now with what I've been doing, actually leaving the house and actually, making things that are actually, what I'm making, instead of just covering everything in garlic. Yeah, I've not had the congestion problems or the sinus problems I had before. Also, the multiple humidifiers I have here also have been helping. The big humidifier I have right here that's been going and going and going has been a big help. And also, last night I was able to actually really get a full night's sleep for the first time in a few days, on account of the second humidifier. I put that in my room, and the Brita water filter, I went and filled that all the way up to the brim, so I can then go and pour all of that into that bedroom filter, so I can go and be able to really sleep all the way out. And so, as I've been saying with people, like I've been able to interact on channels and all of that. Like I saw Eric July was streaming earlier today. I did a little talk, with some people in there, and they said, "Oh, let the time to go and help recover." Well, I mean, yes, for sure. And also, like I said, it is so the snow is actually continued to go. The snow is continued to be coming down, snow or sleet, consecutive days in a row, exactly like what happened this time last year. The difference being that, I'm here at home with a cold, instead of being there at the hospital with my father, where it was, blizzard and blizzard. And the day that I got my bike, whereas the times I would ride from the house back up to the hospital, there was just snow everywhere. And I was riding the bicycle through those blizzards and all that. But yeah, like whenever this does go down, probably no advantageous. Like by the time I'm fully really, healthy enough and strong enough to like get out of the house, there'll definitely be some shoveling to take care of in the front yard and all of that, the front yard and the driveway. And then from there, well, I know, of course, on the 10th, I'm still scheduled for the Warren Elks comic show. And as we are saying right now, issue 1 of Encrypted is still on its scheduled delivery date of January 8th, which is perfect because, yeah, the 10th, that's a Saturday, like those Warren Elks shows always are. And that means then by, we get to 10, then 9, then 8. So then the day it shows up, depending on how late or early the package will show up, I'll then be able to go and sign, autograph all of those for all of you who went and pre-ordered issue 1 of Encrypted in an autographed form. Package all those up, ship them out to you, because today we just got another. It's Kome Gohan, a friend of the channel, who bought one of the issue 1 prints. Also, today, as promised, went and dropped in to go and pre-order an autographed and sketched in copy of issue 1. Yeah, there is a nasty flu bug going around. Well, I didn't really ever even come close to vomiting or anything like that, so I don't really think it was the flu or more like a cold. And don't stress yourself over shoveling and shit when you don't feel good. You don't want to get sicker. Yes, so that's why I'll be, like the way my father would just sit around and expect everything else to around the house, chores like that to happen for him. Although this time it's not just me being a lazy old fat bint. It's a matter of no, wait, I'm recovering from a cold. As better as I am, I still have recovery to take care of, as you can no doubt hear by what I'm saying and just by how the tone of voice right here. So feeling a little gross because it makes me sound more like Vosh, and the last thing I'd ever want to be is anything at all like Vosh. I would sooner be Julian Sand's character in Boxing Helena than be Vosh. At least Sherilyn Fenn in that movie was an adult woman instead of a cartoon horse or a 10-year-old girl or boy. If you remember those Michael Jackson jokes Norm Macdonald would make, you've got those same Norm Macdonald jokes about Michael Jackson, but change them about Vosh, and the punchline then changes into, but of course, this had to be disproven because as we all know, Vosh is a bisexual pedophile. And let's go and look at more of, green tea good for the cold because, well, it has vitamin C in it. Naturally, its own, with no like infusion or anything. That's good there. Yeah. And lucky for me, I mean, I'm hoping to be fully recovered by the weekend, and even by this upcoming weekend, there's still going to be a few days. It'll still be a few more days until we finally get issue 1 of Encrypted arriving, so I can then package it up for everybody. And yes, let's see, anti-inflammatory. Polyphenols help reduce inflammation in the body. Hydration and soothing. Warm liquids help break down mucus, soothe sore throats. Because I've had like situations like that with the cold or the flu or whatever, where you get that type of mucus, you're like snorting it out, or you're sneezing it out, or you're blowing it out of your nose, and it's like hard chunks. It's like pieces of food somehow went up through your nose like that. I haven't had any of that, but yes, still it's still very, strangely dark green, and that's when okay, you've got like the worst of this cold or this flu finding its way out of you. Immune boosters contains L-theanine and vitamin C, which further support immunity. How to maximize benefits: add honey. Okay, eases sore throats and coughs. I've got that. Well, lemon. I don't have any lemon. Yeah. Vitamin C, green tea. Yeah, it should help. And ginseng too. Well, actually, my sister did give me another box of those little ginseng shots that she first sent me when she first came to visit after my dad's death. Yeah, I got she gave me another box of those, and I've been, cutting those open and drinking them like the little tiny thing where I drink. Yeah, I've had that, and yeah, that's been helping too. And of course, even after like going full into recovery, I still plan on, having that, using up the ginseng like that. And also with the regular vitamins I take in the morning, I've been continuing to take those. And usually after dinner, I do have the tea I make anyway. So yeah, the tea I've been making usually has always been, that's something I'm not going to stop just because of getting past the cold. That's something I already was doing. Yes, that's good. Well, that's definitely the right kind of wording that we need to hear right now. Consider matcha. Matcha is a concentrated green tea powder that contains slightly more EGCG. I actually do have a package of those. Matcha, it's kind of like emergency where you pour it in the water. It's like a little powder in a packet you pour in the water. I do have some of that still, sitting around. And there's also some peppermint aromatherapy oil I can drip into the humidifier I have right here. That might help. Now, there are also, much of the evidence come from lab studies or small trials, so large-scale human studies are needed. That green tea does contain caffeine, but not as intense as espresso or anything like that. And let's see, Passport Health. What tea can help ease cold and flu symptoms? When you're sick with a cold or the flu, one of the first recommendations from a doctor is to drink more fluids. While water and other drinks are crucial to your recovery, many people reach for tea to battle their illness. For employees around the world, tea can help soothe the symptoms of an illness while on the clock. And one of the only downsides of using tea to get over an illness is the plethora of options. There's an abundance of teas to help you depending on your illness or need. The tea's warm liquid alleviates your throat and helps with congestion. It also increases antibacterial properties that aid in promptly curing colds. When you add some honey to your tea, it helps with coughing. And if you use a lemon in your tea, the body will receive a boost in vitamin C, weakening your cold. While you may think all teas are the same when it comes to helping with a cold or the flu, this is not the case. Some teas contain properties that give the immune system a boost and get rid of bad germs. Herbal and true teas benefit cold as well as flu symptoms, so you'll be back to your healthy self in no time. Just keep in mind the right tea is in no way a substitute for the antibiotics or medication prescribed to help you with your illness. But since most employees continue working while sick, we need some people dealing with symptoms while at the office. In that case, these are the teas that you should drink while you're sick with a cold or the flu. Got peppermint, chamomile. I actually do have some chamomile. I have a nice little box of that. Echinacea. Ginger. I have a lemon ginger, yes. Elderberry, no. Of course, green, yes. Hibiscus, I don't think so. Nettle, no. Okay. It can be hard to focus on one area where green tea affects health. From improved brain function to fat burning, green tea is the kind of the Swiss Army knife of hot beverages. When it comes to the cold and flu, antioxidants in green tea help take away bad bacteria and free radicals. Congestion and coughing are reduced when you drink this tea. Well, yes, I do. That much is true. And now, does blueberries help recover from a cold? Yes, blueberries help you recover from a cold because they are packed with antioxidants and vitamins like C and A and flavonoids, specifically anthocyanin, that boost your immune system, reduce inflammation, and may even possess antiviral properties, helping your body fight the infection and repair cells. They are considered an immune-boosting superfood, supporting your respiratory tract's defenses and potentially decreasing the severity or duration of illness, according to various health sources. Yes, anthocyanins, which are powerful antioxidants that protect cells from damage and support immune function, particularly the respiratory system. There are studies that suggest blueberries can increase natural killer cells, crucial for fighting off infections. And flavonoids in blueberries can help reduce inflammation and aiding recovery. They provide vitamin C, vitamin A, potassium, and manganese, all vital for immune health. Eat them well. I don't have them fresh. I have a dried package. It's like these dried and flavor and like sugarized blueberries. The package like with those dry mango package. They both come from Costco, but it's still better than nothing. It's still better than not having them like with lemon, where I just don't have it. Yeah, that helps. Oh, yes. That's why, we've got we're streaming still, it's a chill stream where we're going right here from this neighborhood being, my couch. That used to be the main place for streaming all the time, but that we evolved in this past year. But this cold led to us de-evolving in a way. But it's something that we'll get past over the next few days. We'll get past this together. You'll be seeing what it is I'm doing. And there's plenty of fun to be had. Hold on. All right. And now, let's see some things we got right here. Well, here's this thing. From Good Bad Flicks, their most recent video, Invasion USA is a Christmas movie. 10 days ago. And then we've got, this was Andrew Dice Clay's first performance on TV. And we've got that Brandon's cult movie reviews, his review of the Andy Sedaris classic Hard Ticket to Hawaii. A film that comes highly recommended. Let's see. Of course, there's JonTron and Al Bundy. But then we've got Tony Iommi, the lead guitarist for Black Sabbath, the man whom also actually I share a birthday with. I share a birthday with Tony Iommi. So let's hear what his message is.
Hello, everybody. Hope you had a great Christmas. We have. We've had a great time. 2025 for me started off really well. And we had the Tony Martin release of Eternal Idol come out. And shortly after that, I was asked by Robbie Williams' drummer, Carl Bazil, if I'd play on a track with Robbie, which of course I said, yes, that'd be great. And as far as I was concerned, it was going to be an album track, but then Robbie released it as a single, which is even better. And we did a video for it, and the track was called Rocket. And I really enjoyed it. It was really different for me to do that. We also had the launch of my new website, which I was very pleased with. We did the Sabbath, got together, the original Sabbath, and we were presented with the Freedom of the City from Birmingham, which was absolutely amazing. I mean, I'd never thought I'd ever get that, which is a great honour. And also around Birmingham, they'd done Summer of Sabbath, which meant that they had a lot of paintings around of Sabbath on the walls, and it was really good. And all Birmingham became sort of a Sabbath city.
Which is nice. Okay, considering that, the Black Sabbath came from that industrial corner of England known as Birmingham and became international stars. It's about damn time that Birmingham, they paid that love back.
It's really great seeing Ozzy, Bill and Geezer for Freedom of the City. And at that point, of course, we were into rehearsals for the Back to the Beginning show at the Villa Grounds in Birmingham. And the amount of bands that turned up to support Sabbath on that.
Let's just see all the people in this picture that we can recognize. There's Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, the guy who also bought up the NWA, and he was involved in TNA wrestling as well. Yeah, the frontman to the Smashing Pumpkins is a wrestling guy, let alone one to be involved in Impact. And Nick with a $10 super chat says, "Feel better, Luke. R.I.P. Ozzy." Yes. Of course, the tragic passing of Ozzy that happened last year, recently, just before the new year, also French icon Brigitte Bardot also tragically passed. That was sad to see her go like that. And that might be Billy Idol, but I could be wrong. Let's see who else did he recognize. Of course, oh wait, we got James Hetfield of Metallica. There's Steven Tyler right there. Sorry, don't know you. But of course, the center of it all is the Blizzard himself, Ozzy Osbourne. Yes, the Blizzard of Oz. The man who barked at the moon. The man who put on one of his wife's dresses and pissed on the Alamo. Why? Because it's fun, I guess. I've never been to Texas, so I don't know if it's fun to piss on the Alamo like Ozzy did back in the day. I'll go and leave that as an open question for anybody watching and for anybody that is going to be watching the replay to comment. Do you know anybody from Texas that ever pissed on the Alamo besides Ozzy? And what is your experience with pissing on the Alamo?
Was just fantastic. What a great event. And of course, it raised a lot of money for charity. It's just unfortunate and sad that Ozzy passed away a couple of weeks after that, which, may he rest in peace. And on a brighter note, I had the release of the Laney TI-100 limited edition amplifier. And I also use those on...
that guy's jacked. I don't know, but the guy on Ozzy's left, it's not Glenn Danzig, like we saw last night, how Glenn Danzig is a jacked beast of a man, even though Glenn Danzig is only 5'3". Whoever that guy is, I also can't say who he is.
On the Back to Beginning tour, which are really great amps. I really like them. And Laney have done a great job on that. And also in August, I had the release of the Gibson Tony Iommi pickup. Then in September, we had the second run of the Black Sabbath, the Ballet, which went amazingly well. It completely sold out in England.
A Black Sabbath Ballet. Yeah, I actually could see. Yeah, Tony Iommi does look like he does look like an elderly Weird Al from Birmingham. I could see Weird Al growing the facial hair back and looking like this. And Nick just gifted a channel membership, so that's 2 out of 3. We have 2 out of 3 between the channel memberships gifted and the super chats. Now, if we can get business going in the store, another pre-order on Encrypted or a donation in the store, then we will have a stream trifecta right here.
And Carlos Acosta and all the team done just a fantastic job. And I did play on the London shows, a couple of the shows with them in Birmingham. So it went really good. They are so amazing, those dancers and choreographers and all that. And I take my hat off to them. Really good. Then in November, December, we had a guitar raffle for Heartlands Hospital for their cancer unit, the new cancer unit which they have done. So we're trying to raise money to buy beds and all the equipment that they need. And I'm glad to say we raised £53,000, which is amazing, thanks to you guys. Also, there's a Gibson documentary coming out very, very soon. And then, of course, in 2026, I shall have definitely my solo album out. And I'm really looking forward to that. I'm enjoying doing it, and it's been great fun, and I really hope you enjoy it. But I'll keep you more up to date as we go on and what's happening with that.
And we've got well, first we got Nick saying he's got to go. Okay, yes, and since Alabama and Ohio State both lost, that Paul Feinbaum's got to be sad. Well, yeah, I should be feeling better. Like I said, getting back into doing content with just streaming, and I by the time I fully recovered, I'll be of the physical wherewithal to also go to do more content with my shorts and uploads and all that. And we've got Johnny Ortiz saying, "Hey, Happy New Year! Happy New Year to you as well." Yes, Happy New Year to everyone. And starting in the new year, we had a proper deal with friend of the channel Kome Gohan pre-ordering a copy to issue 1 of my comic Encrypted. Right here is the 5 different options you have for the comic book. Yes, the print run for issue 1 will be arriving at my door on the 8th, so you still have a whole week to go and pre-order your copies before the print, because remember, there's only so many of them out there available, but and we'll be going and chopping those out. The print run for this issue is 250. So pre-order while supplies last, because then when you get those pre-orders in, then all right. And then the rest of the run is then going to be up to, how quickly will that go? But getting yourself a pre-order in means, well, then, damn well, you're going to get one. With your regular copy being available for $5, or an autographed copy for $10, or an autographed and sketched in copy for $20, or a 1-year subscription to the comic for $60. And a 1-year subscription is going to net you 6 issues a year, because we will be releasing the comic on a once every 2 months schedule. And then from there, the last one, the biggest one, is a 1-year subscription with autographs, where you will be getting an autographed, you will be pre-ordering the first year of the comic with your copies autographed for $90. And the difference is that the regular autographed copies will have a regular black marker signature, and those autographed with a sketch inside them will be getting a silver signature. And those with the autographed 1-year subscription will be getting their copies signed with a gold marker. Yes, we go black, silver, and gold. Happy, and yes, and no. Well, we're still going to make it a Happy New Year as much as we can, even with me, having this cold.
When it's going to be released. In the meantime, very Happy New Year, and take care. All the best.
Let's actually give the full proper, band, Black Sabbath, a little respect with a friend to the channel, Razorfist, with his retrospective.
And how stupid.
Well, what do you do to relax?
Smoke marijuana.
You were joking when you said that, of course.
Yeah, right.
Dylan, the darksome specter of Sabbath, has dispensed Birmingham badassery since the 60s. As always, if you want to jump to your album of choice, click the description below, and you'll see its timestamp for your convenience. Caterwauling convicted cat burglar Ozzy Osbourne, bipedal riff generator Tony Iommi, free-swinging skin basher Bill Ward, fearsome lyricist and 4-string messiah Geezer, goddamn butler, Metal Mythos, he is back, bitches, with the band that started it all, Sabbath.
At the time, I was heavily into the occult and stuff, astral plane and all that cobblers. I suggested, among other things, Black Sabbath, and everyone went, oh yeah, that's a good name.
And Black Sabbath, from what I have been told, was a name they got from an Italian horror anthology film called Black Sabbath, because they had a different name before then, and where they were rehearsing was across from this movie theater that was showing those type of movies, and they saw a screening for Black Sabbath, and Geezer Butler went, well, hey, how about that as the band name? And they went, okay.
This is a name which has got connotations, Black Sabbath, isn't it?
Well, so the Rolling Stones got something to do with landslides,
And I'll never forget this bloke came up, hey, Scots bloke, your singer's crap. And Ozzy's standing there going, your singer's crap, get your other singer back. It's just one of those things, And then, of course, we had to see the agent and said, well, you're not going down very well.
Much is made of the so-called British invasion of the 50s and 60s. The Beatles, the Zombies, some superb fucking acts washed up on American shores during the Eisenhower era. But what few acknowledge today, apart from the bands themselves, that is that the movement owed its entirety to the blues. And so the eternal transatlantic tennis match began. And so from the seeds of a Brummy blues band by the name of Earth, germinated the malevolent intonations of one of rock's immutable motherfucking pioneers, flailing away around the Birmingham bar scene. The future was anything but bright, so profoundly fucking dim, in fact, that for a blink and you miss it moment, Iommi was briefly a member of Jethro Tull.
And then that was, for me, real strict work, because it was like 9 o'clock in the morning, rehearsals on the dot. And I'd never experienced that. Bloody hell, this is, 9 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 8 o'clock to get there. But it really done me a lot of good, and I only stayed a month with them, and it wasn't for me,
Wow. There's short stints in a band, and then there's being in a band for a month. when you're an actual professional working musician and not just some high school or college kids.
But it was great because when I came back, we got the band back together again, and then we changed our name to Sabbath and whatever. But it was good because it gave me the insight to see that that's what we should be doing. We've got to start early in the morning. We've got to rehearse. The material started changing from then on when we started playing, and we came up with this sort of music that none of us can really explain what it was. We just liked it.
But with that musical marriage going over like a butcher at a bris, it wasn't long before Tony returned, and the composition he brought with him, with lyrics inspired by a demonic dream from Ozzy and/or bassist Geezer Butler, depending on whose acid flashbacks are more reliable, would not only give the band its name, but define a fucking genre.
The first song we wrote was actually Wicked World. Holt's The Planet Suite, particularly.
Yeah, because of our, how Nazi-like the thing with copyrighted music is, it's always best to skip over these parts, to skip over even just the little samples of Black Sabbath tracks in this retrospective.
Mars in those days, and one of the days I was in we were rehearsing, and I was trying to play Mars.
Now that's perfectly okay because that's in the public domain. In case you wonder why so many cheap movies or so many like local commercials use classical music, because it's public domain. So they can sound fancy without having to pay anybody.
And then the next day, Tony went in and went, and then the next.
As we've cataloged exhaustively here on Metal Mythos, some influential albums fail to live up to the omnipresent hype. Black Sabbath ain't fucking one of them. Not only comporting its own admirably against even high-water masterpieces like Paranoid or Master of Reality, but making a strong argument for itself as the finest album of their fucking career, and it all came right out of the gate. Bill Ward's bluesy percussion pounding beneath an Iommi guitar tone thicker than freeze-dried Vegemite, aided immeasurably by Luciferian lyrics and head-bobbing bass work from Geezer Butler, and let us not forget the inimitable Ozzy wailing like a war orphan over top. There was nothing like it then, and despite 5 fucking decades of imitators, frankly, there still fucking ain't. But perhaps the most persuasive testament to the enduring quality of the album itself is that many of its classic cuts are still featured in the fucking rotation, with the title track and NIB still prominently positioned in the Sabbath stage show right up to the retirement tour, not to mention the metallic Titanic behind the Wall of Sleep. Abundant, recorded in just 2 days on a budget that wouldn't buy a half-decent secondhand fucking motorcycle, the spontaneity and adolescent inspiration abounds on this badass record. The freshman Sabbath salvo requires no fucking...
What do you all think of this cover art right here? I would say it's a lot more psychedelic than what you would expect with a band like Black Sabbath. This is the kind of psychedelic stuff you would not expect this, progenitor metal band to be having.
Salesmanship. You've heard it on every classic rock station worth a good goddamn, and with excellent reason. It rips. But as with all early Sabbath, it also ain't alone.
It wasn't until we got back from Europe that the album, we realised the album was in the charts.
Listening to the countdown, and the guy says, Black Sabbath. And we went, what? And we thought, is there 2 Black Sabbaths or something?
Sterling run of early 70s stunners, almost all of which charted in the stratosphere, transforming the 4 fuck-ups from Birmingham to the most reluctant pop stars in human history.
We sort of started attracting all the wrong sort of people then, which was the screaming kids and stuff, which we thought, bloody hell, this is all weird.
We were very, I think, probably afraid, or at least I felt fearful of being a pop band.
Such is the case with the ageless audio pummeling that is Paranoid, a doom metal masterpiece that cranks up the catchiness and the aggression in equal measure. You've heard half this shit in everything from car commercials to political rallies to ads for Preparation fucking H. Paranoid, the immortal Iron Man. But dig deep here and there's some second look gems, with the best of the bunch being the dark majesty of anti-heroin anthem, Hand of Doom.
Once they'd finished the tour of Vietnam, instead of going straight back to America, they'd have to have like a halfway house. Nothing on the news about this. There was no programs telling you that the US troops in Vietnam were, to get through that horrible war, were like fixing up and all this kind of thing. It just stuck in my head, and when we did Hand of Doom, that's what I wrote it about.
Of the world, Paranoid was the debut of Sabbath as songwriters, but the hippie horse shit was still waiting in the wings via the aimless meanderings of Planet Caravan. I get that it's got its fans, but to me, like many more improvisational asides from early Sabbath, this is little more than a stonerific practice recording cranked out to fill space so they can score another sack of Bogata's best. And I'll go one further just to piss off the entire planet. War Pigs? I prefer the original version toured as Walpurgis, before it was hastily, of course, retitled to placate the wilting violets in evangelical Christianity and capitalize on the hairy-ass hippie market. And evidently so did Ozzy, because even after the song was retitled, he continued to sing the original Walpurgis lyrics and made sure to include the original recording on his Best Of compilation, The Ozman Cometh, many moons later.
I don't care,
At the 11th hour, it was evident to all that between the
I just want you all to hear what War Pigs originally sounded like.
Vietnam implications possibly impacting American sales, an obvious commercial potential from Paranoid, a hasty change of title needed to be made, albeit too late for anyone to change the fucking album sleeve. And it's a good thing it was. NME famously raved, the disc really lives up to its title as an uninhibited freakout. Folks, you know a record is good when not even the New Musical Express can find a believable way to fucking shit on it. Released the very same day Jimi Hendrix shuffled off this mortal coil, Paranoid quite literally murdered the hippie generation, a pounding testament to how unstoppable
And for that alone, the album is absolutely perfect.
Sabbath was in the early 70s. But oh, Ozzy and the boys were just getting started.
I think it wasn't until the third album that we started getting like a lot of money. First thing we did was go out and buy ourselves rollers and Lamborghinis and all that kind of stuff.
We were all into buying houses and cars and, you know, the things you do. And, oh yeah, that's right, we're in a band, aren't we?
Edged our virgin ears with the opening doom metal duo of Black Sabbath and Paranoid. For me, this is when their legendary status was cemented. Immutable, inarguable proof that Sabbath were here to stay, and their songwriting was the reason why. And while erstwhile offerings would vacillate in quality from track to track, here, good luck finding a fucking dud. From the opening cough loop of leering pothead anthem Sweet Leaf, which I'm certain is about the merits of maple syrup, to the closing cacophony of the immortal Into the Void, this album is an unbridled audio vivisection, and none cuts deeper than the ageless anthem that almost single-handedly assassinated the hippie generation, Children of the Grave. Danzig. Often ripped off with a frequency to rival Dita Von Teese's nipple tape. Why single Danzig out when so many metal bands have copped the Sabbath sound in its entirety? All the evolutions on offer here is Iommi's guitar tone, which, while heavier than a Wheel of Fortune contestant on the first two fucking records, was full-bore Brontosaurus fuck huge here. Thicker than the La Brea tar pits, nastier than a Leslie Jones Les tape, with a spine-snapping heaviness that has rarely been equaled in the 40-year fucking interim. While Iommi is always Iommi and therefore a doom metal demigod, on subsequent releases in the short term, he would begin a gradual descent into a more articulated technical style, less reliant on the Titanic tone featured on this beast in particular right here. Nothing necessarily wrong with that, folks, but it bears a cursory mention regardless. And as for the reasons behind the booming bottom end, contrary to popular myth, it was on this album, not the debut, that Tony Iommi at last down-tuned his guitar, as the accident he suffered to one of the fingers on his right hand, ironically the day he quit at a nearby factory, made the slackened drop D tuning more comfortable to fucking fret.
I worked in a factory doing welding and stuff. It's really peculiar because I was going to leave the job that day. I just joined the band. So they put me on this sheet metal machine that comes down and chops and bends metal. Of course, I had not a clue about it. I'd never worked on it before. And I got my hand in it, just went... I went into such a deep depression.
We had to make false fingers, really. And he made them out of old plastic bottle tops that he'd melt onto his fingers and then put some leather over the top.
Because I took the ends of my fingers off, it made me create a different style of playing. I had to work on vibrato, I had to work on how hard to press on the strings, because obviously I couldn't feel anything apart from pain. You couldn't feel how much you bend in the string like you could with your finger. There's no feeling there.
The result? The ascent of stoner doom metal. Here of the initial Ozzy era explosion, at least in my opinion, Master of Reality is the uncontested creative apex, the ideal capstone to the 10-ton triumvirate of the first 3 records, second only to one other release you'll fucking see soon. This album is an outright institution. Don't dig it, consider being committed to one. Next.
These great big chewings are the best hash you could ever imagine. We'd smoke these until like the very last second that we had to go on stage. And so this one night we were on stage and he thought he was playing the flute, but the flute was down here on his chin. He was just blowing into the microphone. So all the audience was hearing was this. And he had his eyes closed. So Ozzy got this great big mirror out of the dressing room and dragged it on stage and put it right in front of him while he was doing this thing. So he finished what he thought was this flute solo and opened his eyes and seen himself. And he was just,
It's a whole new thing to be recording in sort of a record plant, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good.
Now here's where we wander a bit far afield in my eyes, and by design, might I add. In the wake of successfully cracking America and the charts in the process, now 4 fucking albums deep, the Brummy foursome were eager to expand their horizons. Having shit-canned their original manager 2 albums back in favor of enlisting the legal representation of the infamous Don Arden, whose daughter Sharon would prove to be instrumental to both the career and cock of Ozzy Osbourne, it wasn't long before it bit him in the ass. But more on that mess and a motherfucking half later. And so in sound, production, management, and virtually everything the fuck else, Black Sabbath were hitting the hard reset button, setting a Sabbath standard that would endure for the remainder of the decade, whereby the band themselves produced their records. A then radical move imitated by many a metal neophyte in the years to come.
And Happy New Year out there to Forever Lost coming in the middle of us, on this chill stream, enjoying some Razorfist giving us a retrospective on Black Sabbath, because Ozzy, yes, we miss Ozzy. And luckily, we lost Ozzy Osbourne this year, but we still have Alice Cooper, and we have Alice Cooper right here with Alice Cooper, The Last Temptation, this comic based off of a Cooper concept album from the 90s that is written by Neil Gaiman with beautiful Michael Zulli art. And yes, it was done by Marvel in the 90s, but now it's being kept in print by Dynamite, but I recommend it.
As such, Snowblind, as it was originally entitled, features a marked amelioration of the previously dismal dreariness of their earlier repute.
The record Volume 4 that was going to be originally called Snowblind. But, they wouldn't have it. There's just no way, man.
We had to change at the last minute to Volume 4.
But it's like, it's all going on. Everybody's doing all these things. But it's like, oh, don't mention that, man. That'll shock so many people. Why do people have to be shocked to realise what's going on all the time.
Typified by the noticeable thinning of Iommi's formerly corpulent guitar tone, shedding the improbably thick drone of Black Sabbath and Master of Reality for a more standard 70s hard rock tone that, to be fair, fucking crushes all the same. But while the Black Sabbath sound was undeniably brightening, the darksome specter of the early years still yielded a fair few doom metal masterclasses, such as Cornucopia, the opening of which contains one of the most inherently evil riffs ever hatched from Tony Iommi's malevolent mustache. Focus on catchier affairs like Snowblind or the haunting ballad Changes. For me, the honor of finest track in the fucking album goes to the doom metal mastodon known as Under the Sun. Inform virtually all of the omnipresent changes swirling the fuck around the band at this time, with Bill Ward soused for the fucking duration to the point that Cornucopia almost couldn't be fucking recorded, and Ozzy losing entire evenings to fistfuls of what I'm sure was confectioner's sugar. It's no mystery why Snowblind was the first thought on everyone's mind.
Initially, drugs were helpful, I found.
Ego, drugs, alcohol, and women were the biggest. I should say alcohol and drugs were the two main ones.
When we first came to the States, then it got pretty heavy into, cocaine and the rest of the stuff that goes with it.
The title, of course, was overruled by record company execs in the end, but fortunately, the fucking songwriting wasn't. Volume 4 is still a classic, but all but a sonic speed bump compared to what came next.
We had this thing going on with each other that was very strange. And Geezer in particular had all sorts of weird dreams and weird thoughts.
Turned the fuck out. Baked out of their gourds on who the merry fuck knows and snorting everything from coke to Comet to ground up fucking Pez if they could pinch out another record in the process.
We hired this massive big mansion in Bel Air. We had, I think, every pusher in LA.
We used to have it in cereal boxes of cocaine delivered to the house. We just tip it into this big bowl, and so we got a bit like Scarface.
And when you live
A cereal box of cocaine that they would all take turns snorting together in a bowl. Yes, that's the rock star life.
that hard and roll that fast, eventually the piper comes knocking, and knock he did. Hard. By the time the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath session started, an overworked, not to mention overcoked Iommi was feeling the pressure of being the primary songwriter. Proof positive that even a glorified goddamn riff machine needs a rest and a lube job on occasion. And so when they sat in the studio, guitar in hand, and Tony Iommi reached once more into that bottomless bag of tricks, for the first time in Sabbath history, he rolled Snake Eyes. Nothing. Not a riff, not a halfway decent jam session, zero with a side of zilch. And his baked-ass band, barely anchored to this earth by this point, could do little more than stare on in wide-eyed amazement.
It was all left on Tony Iommi's shoulders to do it all, you know.
I thought, if I don't come up with anything, we don't do anything. Because they were waiting for an initial riff. And without the initial riff, what do you do? Because we were a riff-based band, you know.
I just didn't know what the hell to write about anymore. I mean,
And so, in a last-ditch effort to hand-jive those creative juices, they set up shop in the ruins of an ancient castle.
We rehearsed in this castle once in Wales. We really, I've got to be honest, we frightened the life out of each other. We had to leave in the end. Everybody terrified each other because we were playing.
And, well, here is the man of the hour himself, Kome Gohan, coming in here to say Happy New Year's. And, yes, he ordered his copy of Encrypted. Yes, we did see that coming in. And, also, we got to thank you for the membership. Well, you are very, very welcome for that. I do believe that was Nick earlier today did that. And yes, our friend Kome Gohan, you know what it's like to both support the printing of the comics. So, yes, you getting the comic actually there is definitely top priority when the shipment arrives this upcoming January 8th. And from there, yes, depending on how late or early in the day that the package arrives, it will be shipped on that same day.
And jokes on each other. Nobody knew who was doing it, you know, and it just got ridiculous. So we used to leave and drive all the way home and drive back the next day.
Yet despite the distractions, it was there, in the pitted rubble of a reputedly haunted citadel, that the Riffmaster General came roaring back to life and outspilled Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. To deeper cuts like Spiral Architect, classic after classic came careening out of Iommi's amp, one after another, but the best of the bunch is the speedy blues metal stunner, Sabracadabra. Your material while expanding the boundaries all the while without once dispensing with their core character in the process. A delicate high wire act that ends with a stuck fucking landing. A bit on the experiment.
And Koma, if you want to know why I sound like this, yeah, I visited my sister in Chicago for Christmas, and as soon as I was getting on the Amtrak back home, I was when I started feeling the symptoms of a cold. Yes, I caught a cold in Chicago, and I've been dealing with the recovery since then. Today's been the best day I've felt since in the past week. I was able to, have actual solid food and was able to exercise in the morning. But still, as you can tell by the sound of my voice, there's still a lot more recovery to go. And yesterday I was able to go and do a New Year's Eve stream. Today I was able to do this. And yes, I should be streaming, but in the next few upcoming days. But soon there will be another store. There will be, the regular uploads and shorts coming back. But right now, it's some chill streams. So let's get back to, we've got Alice Cooper, The Last Temptation right here. And we've got this Razor Fist retrospective on Black Sabbath.
Mental side? Sure, but ain't nothing wrong with an experiment as long as it pays off. And Sabbath Bloody Sabbath does. Buy it, bitch!
People have said to me, which was the pinnacle of Sabbath? To me, the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Not saying anything else is bad or worse, but we'd really just put our heads
level
together.
then, didn't it?
We put our heads together. We were really into what we were doing.
Well, I should be completely recovered this weekend because remember, we still have a week. I still have a full week to go and really recover completely. Until then, I have to ship out the packages of issue 1.
Follow-up would represent a profound overcorrection. Sabbath, to their eternal credit, resisted said urge, crafting a more direct, rock-oriented release while avoiding the all-too-tempting pitfall of eschewing their earlier experimentation. The result? The aptly titled Sabotage, an album with so many quasi-conspiratorial factors arrayed around it, the band recorded it in its entirety at night as they'd been pumped in the dumper by their previous manager, necessitating they spend their days nodding the fuck off in court.
Management was getting most of the money that we were earning and stuff like that, so we didn't feel any different. Just sort of moved out of, say, the not very nice areas of Birmingham into an even worse area.
Management we had never let us realise how big we were, We always used to think we were lower than Zeppelin. We were lower than, we were always we used to share rooms, for Christ's sake, for many years until we demanded our own rooms on the road. I mean, we ripped off ruthlessly. So I was just raped. And I said to my ex-manager, I like to be kissed when I'm getting fucked,
Look, the lawsuit was a laugh and a half, but the resultant frustration gave rise to ravenous aggression, as utterly encapsulated by what remains perhaps Ozzy's most intense vocal performance on a record to date. Straight to the meat of the murderous Iommi riff. Venom, for example, would cover the tune on the underrated Prime Evil album and improve it drastically in the process.
With them, we weren't going anywhere musically. We weren't doing. There was no challenge there because we knew as the name Black Sabbath, we could go out and pull a crowd anywhere and make a living. We could tick over.
A routine that would continue for the remainder of the decade. While I appreciate much of the material to follow, the common perception is that Sabotage serves as the unofficial end cap for the so-called classic Sabbath. And for the original Ozzy era, at least, I have to concede that's largely correct. But suffer no slight against Sabotage. From Hole in the Sky to Symptom of the Universe, it's stacked to the ceiling with masterful mid-70s Sabbath tunes. Worth a buy? You bet your bulbous ass it is. Next.
I was just on stage and I'm putting out like all these thousands of watts of music, like all these people were getting into it. It was a whole thing. The energy that I got from it
This thing just flashed into my mind, technical ecstasy. Yeah.
Is the music loud on stage?
What?
My bass isn't.
Fucking hell. That's fucking cool here.
Yeah.
My mum phoned me up the other night. She lives in England. She said, can you tell Geezer to turn down a bit? We're playing in fucking New York.
Simultaneously reviled, ignored, and reflexively fucking defended. In short, it's the musical Hideo Kojima. This widely appraised to the point where the British food
And Comic Gohan drops in $4.99 to say that R.I.P. Ozzy. Legends never die. Yes. Ozzy will always bark at the moon. Always.
hit the fan for Black Sabbath. Technical ecstasy is simultaneously reviled, ignored, and reflexively fucking defended. In short, it's the musical Hideo Kojima. This metal mythos is fortuitous because while I love Black Sabbath, I love the Ozzy era infinitely less so, and as such, lack any such baggage on the subject. Encountering this album with fresh ears unencumbered by the incumbent expectations of more experienced fucking fans, I think it's all right. Some rockers, some droners, some more progressive preening a la Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and Sabotage. In short, to the untrained ear, it's an earnest, if occasionally aimless, hard rock record.
I don't class ourselves as heavy metal. I know a lot of people do. We've always come from the hard rock-based thing.
Were Black Sabbath capable of better? Fucking A, they were. They'd done so 2 titty fucking albums ago, and they would 2 albums hence, might I add. But there's nothing offensively bad about Black Sabbath Technical Ecstasy. Goofy-ass Latter-day Genesis-looking cover art notwithstanding. Seriously, what the springtime fresh fuck am I looking at here? An egg playing laser tag with a fucking Lego? It bears mention that by this point, Brian May of Mythos Luminaries Queen was a fixture in the fucking studio with Tony Iommi, and the influence is evident in almost every song, from the operatic aside of Prog Doom Experiment You Won't Change Me to the more florid fills of Bill Ward and Tony respectively. The early Queen sound, albeit with a Black Sabbath veneer, is eminently detectable here.
Well, our backgrounds aren't that much different. You know, we were probably both playing Shadows numbers about 40 years ago. You know.
30 years ago.
Either way, as evidenced by the continued inclusion of dirty women in the Latter-day Sabbath set, clearly Technical Ecstasy was never a complete loss. And so from generation to generation, I'd venture to say more metal fans have unwittingly stumbled on this single album expecting precisely nothing and come away pleasantly surprised than perhaps any other, at least Aussie-era release. The 2012 remaster is much improved on the sound front, the songs have surprisingly endured over the ages, and as such, Technical Ecstasy is irrefutably recommended. But Black Sabbath now subsisted beneath a black cloud, and so after damn near a half-decade of infighting with Ozzy, the Brummy burnouts reached a very British boiling point.
Did you have warning that Ozzy was going to go?
We were rehearsing it anyway for this album, and he left.
Ironically titled Never Say Die. The final Ozzy Sabbath album of the 70s is oft mythologized as unjustly reviled, and a record so steeped to its sack and baggage and bullshit you can scarcely hear the music over the din of drama surrounding it. Long story short, in all of a fucking year, Ozzy Osbourne was fired and or quit. Fucking twice. Looking and ramble on about Ozzy's abuse of alcohol and drugs, the absence of a coherent creative direction, and whatever the fuck else all you like, distilled to its essence, in retrospect, the same thing happened to Sabbath that happened to a million bands before and after. The early years were great and all, but as the songwriting matured, the fathers of heavy metal were metamorphosing into either an Ozzy band or an Iommi band. And from Sabotage to Never Say Die, it was excruciatingly evident the band wasn't big enough for the both of them.
We've got a situation that's supposed to be a band, yet whatever Tony wanted, he got.
It just wasn't working. Things just wasn't happening. We were.
What if I told you this dish was actually healthy? Let's be real. Factor's menu is way healthier than the competition. Their chef
Ended up rehearsing for 11 months, and nothing was coming up. So we'd come up with plenty of riffs and stuff, but no There was no enthusiasm.
And so the Sabotage era spats eventually flowered into a full-on fucking replacement. Dave Walker of Fleetwood Mac fame, I believe, who was recorded and even fucking filmed performing material from the era with Iommi and the boys.
We had to write all new songs because we were due to go in the studio, and we got this other singer, Dave Walker, who used to be with Sir Boy Brown and Fleetwood Mac, who'd done a bit with.
Me joining Sir Boy Brown, Tony was, and I remember we were at this pub or someplace, and Ozzy came out, and Ozzy's a nice dude.
Nothing says heavy metal quite like cat construction hats, doesn't it?
And I remember I felt really sorry for him because I don't know, he was just going through some awful crap, I think, at the time. But they were all of the opinion, Bill Ward especially, I think, that I was like totally wrong for it. And he was right, I was totally wrong.
And Kome Gohan just gifted 5 channel memberships. So, between Kome Gohan, with those memberships gifted, and with the super chat, and with pre-order encrypted, this has been a trifecta stream right here. Yes. We've had super chats, we've had gifted channel memberships, and we've had business in the store. So, we've kept up the tradition we've had now for about the last year of having a trifecta of channel support on the big new day of the month, on the first of the month. Had to give back. Well, we sincerely thank you for that, Kome Gohan, and well, you've giving back there. I hope to be able to give even more with the quality of issue 1 of Encrypted. And yes, issue 2 will be made available for pre-order in February. Issue 2 will be available for pre-order February, and then it will be shipped out to come to those who pre-ordered in March. And yes, January, then March for issue 1 being shipped out this month, then March for 2, May for 5, like I said. But the month before is where we'll have the pre-order stage going. And just keep it moving like that, and hoping you will enjoy every moment.
And so we had him for a bit, and that really didn't work out. And then Ozzy wanted to come back, and we wanted Ozzy back.
So Ozzy came back, and we did the Never Say Die album. And as we were doing it, I just knew that it's the end.
Look, Walker was all well and good, soulsy, pretty bitchin' if I'm being perfectly honest, if a bit of an oddball in Black Sabbath. But by the time the band hit the studio, and by studio I mean a balls-freezing repurposed fucking cinemaplex where Sabbath would snort the hours away by day and shit out Never Say Die by night, needless to say, Ozzy was already itching to return, and so he did. With sacks upon sacks of snow in tow. And that's just the fucking preludes, folks. The music, well, it's just goddamn decent rock. As someone who pretty much fucking yawns at the original Ozzy incarnation of Black Sabbath, even I don't get the hate here, people. Junior's Eyes, solid. Never Say Die, a little upbeat and vacuous, but once again, solid. Johnny Blade, full-on fucking boss.
Can't wait for the book and look forward to ordering the second book. Thank you then. If, well, clearly, Kome Gohan, you are a man of your word. And yes, issue 2 will be coming, and on the series will go. We're hoping to be at least be able to do 12 issues of this. So far, well, we've got 4 of those 12 completed. And yes, once I fully recover, then the main creative focus of streams and all that will be on to actually, finishing issue 5. Because, yes, I want to be the anti-Ethan Van Sciver in every way possible. And being able to actually, finish comics, give or take, an actual illness or anything like that. Yeah, me actually being productive is the main way to be defiant of that fat bastard.
Objectively assessed, in some ways, what this record lacks in the vintage Sabbath sound, it augurs for the upcoming Ozzy solo career with its stripped-down, guitar-centric assault. Iommi, for his part, alleges that never before the band's recording process been more rushed.
When he came back, we'd written some songs and he wouldn't sing them, and we were due to do this album, Never Say Die, and we went to Canada to record it. To record an album we hadn't got any songs for, basically. So we had to start rehearsing in the morning at 9 o'clock.
because we were recording on the evening, so it really got difficult. We were trying to write a song and then record it on the night, so we couldn't relate to it. You can't do that. We didn't live with them and whatever. And it was, I'm surprised we ever managed to do an album.
And if that's the case, Black Sabbath should rush more fucking often. It ain't Master of Reality or anything, but after the pseudo-technical twattery of the preceding effort, it's at least a solid 7 out of 10 and deserves a second look if you've previously written it the fuck off as the audio demise of the band. Either way, to Bill Ward's delight, Ozzy was back. Only to be sacked 17 minutes later, sending Ozzy into a downward spiral of protracted narcosis.
When it came to the firing of me, he got Bill, who was my best friend, who was my closest member of Black Sabbath, to come and do the dirty deed. I didn't see him. He was locked away in his room.
Tony has spoken to me about this, and I felt at that particular time I was very dishonest, and I felt dishonest in my support towards Tony.
It was a very sad period. I remember leaving there. I locked myself in a hotel room for three months, just getting smashed out of my.
Need to go to bed. Take care, chaps. Well, you definitely have helped to take care of me today with the support with the channel and with getting your copy of Encrypted going. So most definitely all the more motivation for me to get better so I can get back to issue 5.
Brains every day,
And then nothing happened for the next 20 years and they were on vacation. Sorry, still working on my Sharon Osbourne impression. Sabbath may have kicked Ozzy to the curb, but he'd soon emerge like a fucked up phoenix, which is a story for another mythos. Meanwhile, Sabbath were back to square one. Walker was out and Ozzy insensate, but thanks to Tony's never say die spirit, it wasn't quite time to phone for the heavy metal hearse.
I mean, we come up with some riffs, but Ozzy just wouldn't sing them. He just wasn't into it. So I called Ronnie up.
But I spoke to him on the phone, and I met him over at Don Arden's house at the party. We spoke about things. And so I said, do you want to come over and have a play with us and see how we get on?
My first opportunity to meet Tony in the flesh, and Geezer and Bill. We wrote a song called Children of the Sea that night. And men without feet. We were men without hats. We were men without everything at that particular point.
Exit Ozzy, enter Ronnie. While he'd conquered the world with Richie Blackmore's proto-power metal colossus Rainbow, in a mass market context, the Dio dictatorship begins right the fuck here. In dire need of a front man, Iommi inquired of the diminutive powerhouse in question, and to both men's amazement, he responded in the affirmative. But fuck that biographical bullshit. This is metal mythos, and it's all about the music. Heaven and Hell is one of the most awe-inspiring career revivals to which we've ever borne witness. From the opening strains of the Galloping Neon Knights, the reborn Black Sabbath savages ahead with newfound gravitas and atmospheric ear candy aplenty. Gone were the stonerific stylings of the Ozzy era in favor of a more polished approach, reflective of the band's already legendary status. The Ozman may be MIA, but 3/4 of the fucking band weren't, and they've scarcely played better in their 5 decades of heavy metal menstruations. And it cracked the charts hard, topping every Black Sabbath album to date, save the tandem of Paranoid and Master of Reality, in America at least. In the land of milk and mutton, the snobby-ass Brits were somewhat more reserved, affording it a mere silver certification. I can only assume because we didn't boil it first. And the timing wasn't too shabby either. While they couldn't have possibly predicted the eventuality, the band's glossy new production and soaring singer inadvertently affixed them to the tip of the arrowhead for an all-new metal movement, the so-called new wave of British heavy metal, of which their new sound was an unintended archetype.
And hello to Donnie in the chat right there. I'm still recovering from my cold, but at least we're streaming right here. Although a lot more chill and a lot more of working around my voice sounding like this. So let's go and enjoy some Black Sabbath retrospective.
Radically established that Black Sabbath was more than any one of its parts. It was an ethos and an aesthetic as much as it was a collection of individuals. Except Iommi, of course. No Iommi, no fucking band, bitch. Deal with it. The album also marks the introduction of an unspoken mainstay in the Sabbath camp I'd be remiss not to mention. Long-standing keyboardist Jeff Nichols, whose presence not only provided a much-needed sense of stability in the eternal flux of the fucking 80s, but whose pen was often responsible for many of the standout tracks of the self-same era. He passed away, I believe, last year, and he's criminally undermentioned, but until his untimely death in 2017, he was the undercover 5th member of Black Sabbath and should be acknowledged as such. If you need a sales spiel to pick up an immortal classic like Heaven and Hell, my condolences on your incoming fucking taste transplant. But the Dio era was just getting started.
To overcome all of the problems that were laid in front of us made that album so much more pleasing to us that we were able to go, haha, see, check this out.
And so too was the eternal schism betwixt those who appreciated the unprecedented artistic and commercial revivification Ronnie breathed into Black Sabbath, and the simpering shitstains who still shriek the words, Ozzy or nothing, man. Fire up that fucking rant alert. Worse still, thanks largely to the planet-pulverizing insecurity of Ozzy, the rivalry was effectively fucking endorsed and instigated by at least one of the bands in question. Almost immediately, Oz was dropping trow on Tony Iommi's head. And with Tony having found a new toy, his ire became focused squarely on Ronnie James Dio. Now, while much of the footage of Ozzy pinching logs on Lord Dio in the press has since been purged from the interwebs, gosh, I wonder by whom, take my word for it, Ozzy was fucking shook.
I mean, I ain't gonna praise me. I ain't gonna praise them because we didn't leave it. I didn't leave it. We didn't separate in a happy mode. Shall we say? You know, well, see you later, guys. You know, enjoy it.
They should stop that now because it's like dragging a dead horse even further. But I don't think they will. I don't. To be honest, I don't think they got the nerve to.
According to bassist cum ghost songwriter Bob Daisley, in the early sessions for the Blizzard of Oz album, he would literally check the minute-by-minute chart positions for Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, and became positively despondent when it not only became the 3rd best-selling Black Sabbath album of all time, but when Randy Rhoads played the record during a recording session one day, he lost it and lashed out, labeling Black Sabbath's new frontman illegitimate and paying a full fucking salary to a literal midget just so he could take him out on tour and call him Ronnie.
Like I use a midget, a dwarf, as he so correctly put me right. He's not a midget, he's a dwarf, and he's. I do some tricks with this.
We'll show you the dwarf's entrance here. The dwarf comes up.
Giving that one away. Not anymore.
Right,
not
the
anymore.
dwarf comes up through this entrance here.
Yes, gang, Ozzy is that insecure.
He's more okay with dwarfs on stage than he is with bubbles. If you remember the classic bit from his reality show where he's yelling about bubbles going off on stage, and he's Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of fucking Darkness, one of the male models go on and have a wank.
And while Iommi, outside of an offhanded remark or two, tended to take the high as a kite road.
Oh my God. I think I know this bloke. He don't look too well though, does he really? It's all that booze, you know. Because he's the one that goes into Betty Ford Centre for 2 months and comes out and has a drink. Next.
Dio, on the other hand, dropped the ether.
We're still holding on to the dead dream. It's dead. Sabbath are dead now. It's not that I don't like what they're doing. I mean, it's great music what they're doing, but it ain't Black Sabbath. It's not Black Sabbath. It's a new band. It's a different band. It doesn't sound remotely like Sabbath apart from Tony Iommi's thundering riffs. But actually, it's only till I left that I realised how much of a part of Sabbath I was. You know, any of the guys. You take 4 guys that have been together for as long as Sabbath were, and you try and perhaps you'd go away with a bass player or a drummer. But Tony and Iommi had his distinctive sound, and I had my own sound and my own style of singing. And that combination was Black Sabbath.
I think he's right in that he's talking about there is no more Black Sabbath with Ozzy Osbourne in it. He's absolutely right. Not even remotely close as far as I'm concerned. I think that you'll find that the riffs that Tony's playing now are probably more musical riffs, and the reason probably being that he's now got someone who can compare musically to the riffs that he's playing. This band is not the band that did Iron Man, that did War Pigs, because I don't sound like Ozzy, at least I hope I don't sound like Ozzy. He's right. It's not the same band. Not at all the same band. It's a band that has progressed where Ozzy either refused to progress or was incapable of progression. Geezer Butler wrote all the lyrics to the songs that you've heard that have been hits. War Pigs, Paranoid, and right down the line, Iron Man. But yet Ozzy claims to have written the song. Not only does he claim at this point to have written the lyrics, he claims to have written the music.
From 1969 through 1978, Ozzy was the driving force behind the demonic Black Sabbath.
The break came because Ozzy felt held back creatively and needed a new outlet.
I doubt very much that Ozzy could carry a tune if you put a radio in a suitcase and gave it to him in his hand. I think that if Black Sabbath had just gone away and died, Ozzy wouldn't nearly be enjoying the success he has now, and he sure as hell wouldn't be selling as much back catalog as all of them are getting, and I'm sure as hell not. I'm doing Ozzy's job twice. Replying to them, to the things that Ozzy has said, to me is like dueling with an unarmed man. It really is.
He's already.
We'll just leave that right there for a bit. Ozzy really is a mess. Oh, yes, he's... Because the man was a miracle of science and the fact that he was able to live as long as he did. When the man at one point was so drunk and high, he walked around in Texas wearing one of his wife's dresses and pissed on the Alamo. You know about that story, right?
He did.
I ain't about to mince words here. The mere fact that this is even a discussion is a testament to the immortal talent of Ronnie James Dio. These debates, without exception, fail to fucking exist if the second singer is an objective downgrade. In Dio's case, in both technique and songwriting bona fucking fides, guess who is in fact an objective upgrade? And while I acknowledge Ozzy often gets unfairly overlooked for his contributions lyrically, directionally, and even a fair few metallic melodies, invariably the merest utterance of this fact incites the Ozzy contingent to regurgitate the outright meaningless rejoinder, well, Ozzy may not be better at belting out the tunes, just ask the guy behind the curtain singing for him these days, but he's better for Black Sabbath. Which, when you really break it down, is just a long-winded way of saying, I heard him first. Well, Wayne Shaft, throw yourself a fucking parade. I heard my mom sing Michael Jackson first in my fucking crib. That doesn't mean Meemaw gets to replace the king of pop on the promotional circuit. And what definition of the word better are you employing precisely? Because it seems like whether it's Never Say Die, Technical Ecstasy, or reunion efforts so often aborted they're looking into an endorsement deal from Planned fucking Parenthood, the band's only semblance of security has come when Ozzy ain't allowed within 80 motherfucking miles of the metal icon in question. And given the well-publicized instances of strong-arming tour promoters into avoiding Sabbath in the mid-'80s and early '90s, lest they lose Ozzy tours for the foreseeable future, or even going so far as to call venues to inform the fuckers Black Sabbath won't be able to make the show tonight, all of which Ozzy and Sharon admittedly engaged in the late '80s, your definition of better seems about as stringent as Ozzy's definition of retirement tour. Look no further than Mythos alumni except for ready confirmation that sometimes Splitsville is right where a band should be. Some musical divorces benefit both parties. In the case of Accept, instead of one kick-ass metal band, they've now bifurcated into badass fucking twins. It's heavy metal mitosis, motherfuckers. So take a trek on down to that distant Native American village by the name of Quitcha-Bitchin' and fall to your fucking knees that rivet heads of the 80s had Ozzy and Sabbath in both creativity, production, trademark ownership, branding, and the Black Sabbath sound. Whether you doff your dick at Dio, pay homage at the shrine of Ozzy, fuck, whether it's Glenn Hughes, Ray Gillen, Ian Gillan, or Tony Martin that tickles your taint, bottom line, Dio ain't Sabbath, and Ozzy ain't either. Iommi is. Deal with it, douche canoes. Next.
And that's why I'm happy to share a birthday with this man right here, Tony Iommi. I found that out through a Richard Friend who I follow on Instagram, actually.
All these things going through my head and pacing up and down the dressing room. Oh God, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work.
I just went to Tony and said, look, Tony, don't be nervous about this. If something goes wrong, they're not going to blame you. They're going to blame me. You know, I'm just always going to be my fault. I'm the guy who replaced Ozzy, remember? You're Tony Iommi. They're not going to blame you. They're going to blame me, so don't worry about it. Went, oh, yeah, I guess so.
At had not been idle. Lacking in, shall we say, traditional musicality, the Howard Stern of heavy metal did what he does best: compensate for his own inadequacies by arraying a rogues gallery of majestic talents to cover it the fuck up. Perennial bassist and songwriting secret weapon Bob Daisley, Uriah Heep legend Lee Kerslake, and a little fella by the name of Randy fucking Rhodes, and all this in response to this record right here, with a movie tie-in and seminal sci-fi animated feature fucking heavy metal, no less.
I think Mark Bros was on the Heaven and Hell tour, wasn't it? Because didn't we have to do it for that film?
Oh, the actual track.
Heavy
Well, the song, it was on the film soundtrack.
That's right. And we were actually on tour.
Heavy metal, right? The cartoon.
We were on tour.
Yeah, and that the soundtrack to that movie also has Ozzy on it and Black Sabbath.
We did a gig in London, and this is like the one in this song for heavy metal. We had a couple of days off, and I don't know how we ended up at John Lennon's house.
And we set the drums up in the hallway of the house. To be honest, I really liked the sound we had in there. It was a great raw sound.
Yeah.
And we never used that. We never used that one on the album.
That's interesting. I did not. So there are two of the song Mob Rules.
Yeah,
there are two different recordings of it, completely different recordings. And that the one on the heavy metal soundtrack was recorded at John Lennon's house.
Yeah.
In my eyes, it at least somewhat tops it. Admittedly more piecemeal than its predecessor in terms of consistency, I'd argue the peaks top out incrementally higher than Heaven and Hell. But let's be real here, bitches. These are two separate, stellar releases in their own right, and atop the heap, for me at least, is the black magic metal of Voodoo. Evil, and that's where shit went pear. Least of which because Sabbath themselves apprised us of the fact. On the ensuing tour, efforts were made for the first proper Dio-fronted live album, Live Evil, and that's where shit went pear-shaped. With Bill Ward departing ahead of the new record, that left Ronnie James Dio and fellow American replacement drummer Vinny Appice an all but self-sustaining unit within said band.
I couldn't function, period. My health was worsening with the alcoholism. And I couldn't believe in that Sabbath.
As such, the band bisected along lines of nationality, not to mention drug choice, of course.
That I believe that after that album, Tony and Geezer probably had some other agendas.
Okay.
What they were, I never really asked, even when we got back together again. But I know that they had other agendas, and there were a lot of drugs going around at that time.
Oh, okay.
You know, Vinny and I weren't that. We weren't drugged out. We don't do that. But you know, there was a lot of that going on in parts of the camp.
Iommi and Butler, upper-fueled fuckbags that they were at the time, would turn in no earlier than 8 o'clock, coke fumes doubtless billowing about them, while the RV Connection would turn up when the sun was still out, and so Iommi would listen to each new mix, only to discover that in his absence, well...
The engineer who was doing the product was drinking a lot, and he would tell Tony and Geezer that Vinny and I were going into the studio and turning up the drums and the vocals.
We were going the next day and go, what the hell's happened to the guitar and bass? And the engineer would go, well, Ronnie changed it all. He brought all the vocals up more. And
emotionally, again, from working such a long time and touring for the 3 years or so and recording 2 albums back to back within a 4-year period, it just got a little bit too much for all of us to take. I couldn't understand why they would listen to it when an idiot who was drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels every day. It made no sense to me.
So it came next that we banned Ronnie from the studio. Wouldn't let him come in, you see, and that's when that was the final straw. It just broke up.
Worse still, they aired every bit of this bullshit in the press, dramatically dropping public stock in the band while they were still in the midst of a mid-career resurgence. It was all well and good as it happened, as the band's label Warner Brothers had already signed Ronnie to a 5-album solo deal with a little project called Dio. But once again, a story for another mythos. Aberrant impulse, not to mention a clash of chemicals, had once again led Black Sabbath to a career crossroads, and Tony Iommi was about to hang a hard fucking left.
Here with us tonight, Tony Iommi, longtime member of the band, Geezer Butler.
Hello there. Hello.
And brand new member, Ian Gillan. Hello.
Oh, here's a fucking weird one. Dio having fucked off to Middle Earth and Ozzy by now barking at the moon. Black Sabbath were seriously fucked. With Metal Mags exhaustively cataloging every spasm in the band's prolonged self-destruction, it was at last the label who next intervened. Metal Legend alleges that the management had a simple plan. Ian Gillan of Deep Purple fame needs a band. Black Sabbath needs a singer. Let's spend 15 seconds MS painting some fucking horns on a baby, slap it on a cover, and call it a band. In actuality, it was infinitely more personal than that. Ozzy had by now broken it off with his ex-wife and was shacking up with Sharon Arden, legendary manager Dawn Arden's daughter, and yes, that would be the Sharon Osbourne we all know and will know anyway. After which Ozzy broke away from Dawn Arden's management and used his daughter instead in many different ways. In short, Born Again was a failed fucking revenge plot. A callous attempt by Dawn Arden to hotshot Black Sabbath back to prominence as a righteous fuck you to his daughter and son-in-law by pairing them with the hottest heavy metal free agent on the planet, Ian Gillan.
I was impressed by their attitudes, their sort of hunger and drive and belief in what they were still doing after all these years. Also, we have the same habits.
The same
Habits.
habits. What kinds of habits?
Drinking habits.
I went on to meet Tony and Geezer in a pub somewhere in the Midlands, and by the time we got thrown out, I found I was a member of Black Sabbath.
I think after about 2 hours, the meeting was adjourned to under the table.
So you knew these.
To be fair, Gillan was hot shit in classic Deep Purple, but by the early 80s, after a solo venture that started strong, his career had by now cooled considerably and was arcing toward an outright deep freeze. Now, here's where I admit, I just don't get the Gillan thing. Never have. Probably never will. Robert Plant, get it. Halford, get it. Ozzy, not my favorite, but I got him, get it. Fuck, I even acknowledge one of these three men was fucking inspired by Ian Gillan. But every time I saddle up and endure another exhibition in Ian Gillan's nasally mewling, I don't know whether to headbang or hand him a handkerchief. I get that he's lost his pipes. Fuck, he arguably lost them during this period specifically. But even in his prime, I'd rather listen to literally any other Deep Purple frontman. Rod Evans, Glenn Hughes, fucking rather watch Jolyn Turner pluck his wigs, and I prefer each and every one of them in Black fucking Sabbath. I just don't get Gillan. He screams. Neat. So does Halford, and he's better at it. Next. But one gonzo goddamn drinking session later, and Ian Gillan was suddenly in Sabbath. On the plus side, Bill Ward was back from the booze tank for 15 seconds, meaning 3/4 of fucking Sabbath would waste their creative energy behind a subpar singer. Having said all that, Born Again, still pretty boss. Some solid tunes prop the proceedings up like Rebar from the opening strains of Trash, which is damn near an autobiography for a period Ian Gillan has since described as, quote, the longest party of my entire life, to the final refrains of Doom Metal Leviathan, Keep It Warm. The production may be nearly as sketchy as the fucking cover art, but let that not dissuade you from dropping the needle on Black Sabbath Born Again. There's a bottomless wellspring of second-look studs here for a fucking fact.
Anyone got an idea of what we should do as a stage set? Geezer said, Stonehenge. And the guy said, well, how do you envisage this? And he said, life size. So they produced a life-size Stonehenge.
Stonehenge came down. It's 3 times bigger than the original Stonehenge. We had to hire the NEC for rehearsals. It's the only place where it would fit. And that was without the stage.
The dimensions that the management company had given were in feet, and the manager, by the time he did it in meters, so it was like 3 times bigger than what
It was massive. And we're looking up at this thing going, bloody hell, what are we going to do with this?
And then Spinal Tap came out, who just happened to have the tiny Stonehenge.
The little children of Stonehenge.
And such was the case with Born Again. In retrospect, Sabbath could likely thank the Born Again album for audiences never giving any of the goddamn exceptional material they'd crank out in the latter half of the decade a single spin. They'd simply burn the fans too fucking hard with this record. Iommi and Ian Gillan were having the time of their lives, much to the bafflement of the Black Sabbath faithful. But if you thought it couldn't get any weirder, strap the fuck in. It's about to get bowling shoe ugly.
Why do you think there has been so many different band lineup changes in Sabbath?
So you're the only original member of the band left now. Do you feel like you're kind of, if you will, carrying the cross yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Seventh Star, as it happens to be both fascinating and my personal favorite Sabbath album. After the Born Again Afterbirth, Iommi auditioned every spray tan singing sensation in the greater LA area, up to and including a Christian televangelist, Jeff Fenholt, who recorded damn near the full album, which was later bootlegged as Star of India. Idea. A solo record with a bevy of badass rock royalty behind the microphone.
But I wanted to break away and do a solo project under Tony Iommi, which I did, called the Seventh Star album. But of course, as it went on, time went on, Black Sabbath was still supposed to have owed Warner Brothers another album. So they nabbed that one to become a Black Sabbath album. People saying it doesn't sound like Black Sabbath and it's not a Black Sabbath, because it wasn't a Black Sabbath album, it was a solo project which became a Black Sabbath album.
Now, this wasn't quite the case, but we'll get to that in a moment. The names? Robert Plant, David Coverdale, Rob Halford. But when Deep Purple's former bassist and should have been lead fucking singer, the great Glenn Hughes, lit up the microphone, it was all she wrote, and Hughes was the man. It also helped that the record companies wouldn't let Halford or Plant out of their fucking contracts. Now, Hughes is often depicted as an outsider in the Sabbath stable.
Are you all right? You haven't said anything in a while? Well, it's just I know how strange my voice sounds. And when it came to, doing this kind of stream, just doing it to, once again, show proof of life and get back into the groove of doing some kind of content, but also being, with a voice like this, not wanting to strain it, but at the same time, also just getting, engrossed in the story of Black Sabbath right here. Oh, like that.
But nothing could be further from the truth. Not only at his early exceptional band Trapeze toured with the original incarnation of Sabbath, he was sharing a house with Ozzy Osbourne when the original Blizzard of Oz band was fucking formed, and we all know what happened next. Warner Brothers smacked a Sabbath logo on the cover because, bitch, that's what sells. And so to Glenn Hughes' horror, he had joined Black Sabbath without ever actually auditioning for it.
And the record was done, and did a video for it. And then his managers and Warners thought, well, we should call this Black Sabbath. It was just a bunch of bullshit.
Or had he? While it's often cast by the Obliviati on Metal Archives as a Tony Iommi solo album with Sabbath slapped on the sleeve, in truth, that assertion fails to survive a solitary playing of the cyclopean Sabbath standard, Seventh Star. At a monster ballad territory for the most part, this album is balls deep in blues metal.
Into this very sort of classic rock melodic thing with extremely heavy riffs. The difference between, I guess, myself and Ozzy or Dio is that I wanted a different spin on what Tony was writing on the music, rather than maybe singing aggressive voice. I wanted to spin off into something a little bit more melodic and soulful. So here we have what I consider to be a very melodic album from Tony and Glenn.
And I'm going to blow some minds here, but Ozzy, not really a metal singer as such. So what is he, you ask? Well, I'm glad you inquired, amorphous fucknob on the internet. Let's dissect. From his throaty bellow to his occasional melismatic note bending to the improvisational supplications to God and Jesus in the early Black Sabbath material, Ozzy Osbourne is, and always has been, a blues singer. For fuck's sake, listen to the music, and this time, open your ears. Glenn Hughes is the exact same kind of singer as Ozzy, but better at it? Of all the shit to shriek about, blues doesn't belong in Black Sabbath. Blues! Well, there's a world-running assertion. I think you're on to something there, Jimmy Neutron. But for one minuscule motherfucking detail. Sabbath started as a butt-fucking blues band. 90% of Iommi's riffs are just down-tuned blues scales fed through a fucking fuzz pedal.
It was all 12-bar blues. It's like every Tuesday night we go to this place and just, like dry our hair long and, and just have a couple of pints, and just do 12-bar blues,
Blow me, bitch! Seventh Star is Sabbath. It's just Sabbath with a slightly more generous slathering of blues and soul than usual. But the aforementioned Jeff Fenholt further demolishes this fallacious narrative by stating that when he cut the Star of India demos, before Glenn Hughes' involvement, mind you, it was already being called Black Sabbath. Casting further doubt on the solo project allegation, Tony Iommi bought the rights to the Black Sabbath name and trademark ahead of the album's release in '86. Why would you buy millions of dollars worth of Black Sabbath trademarks if you weren't planning on using them? Oops, time to correct those Wikipedia articles, kiddies. Either way, given subsequent side projects from Iommi and Hughes, I ain't gonna lie. I'd happily replace some of the latter-day Heaven and Hell or Sabbath output with another proper crack at the Hughes incarnation of the butt-fucking band. But by the time Tony took Glenn out on the road, his addiction to coke, and well, coke was working his rapidly ballooning backside like a pommel horse. Actually, that's not fair. As contrary to popular belief, Glenn Hughes was as sober as he ever really got in '86, thanks to some serious Black Sabbath babysitting from Iommi's management.
Doug Goldstein was hired as a security guy to literally be with me 24/7, adjoining rooms. He had a thread on the knob on the door if I left the room. So I couldn't do any drugs, but I could drink a little bit.
Was it possible to keep him away from drinking drugs?
No, I don't think you could keep anybody away from anything if they really wanted to do it. We put a 24-hour bodyguard with him to watch him 24 hours. And this guy slept in the next room, had an interjoining
This guy looks like if Ridley Scott was a werewolf.
rooms. We put things on his door, so if you come out of his door, we'd know he's gone out, just to make sure he's okay, you know.
Yeah.
Because he did have a habit of just disappearing, and you know, you don't know if you're going to come back.
Point being, his habits had effectively fucking destroyed the man, accurately dubbed the voice of rock, when a chance altercation with a production manager on the tour at a hotel elevator handed Hughes a broken beak, secure in his whiskey-soaked stupor. He thought nothing of it at the time. And then he tried to sing live. And this shit came out.
In bits, his vocals, he just couldn't sing.
People were just knocking me because they just thought I was loaded, which I wasn't doing drugs on that tour, but I was drinking heavily.
This thing pops up on so many people's albums, though, Tony, doesn't he? He does a bit and then they fire him.
Well, that's right. I think album-wise, he's fine, but when he gets onto the road, it's another story, really, which we found out.
Different sort of animal.
Yeah, I was warned, though, by the various other people he's been with, you know.
Yeah.
But, there we go.
You know, I was overserved at the bar, if you will, and I got into a bit of a fracas with the production manager, and he decided to take a swing at me, knock me clean out, but he broke this bone here. It went into my nasal cavity, and blood went into my throat, and they did a check on my nose and throat, and it was caked with dried blood. You know, we should have known at Meadowlands, people were going, well, Glenn can't even talk.
Enter Ray Gillen, perhaps one of the greatest all-time unknowns of the 80s and 90s. Gillen stepped to the mic stand and savaged the remainder of the tour, while Tony handed Hughes perhaps the single most disrespectful sacking in metal history. Glenn only wising up to his replacement when Ray Gillen literally fucking sauntered in the goddamn door. Class move, Tony.
The funny thing is, this is weird, but it's a laugh now to me, but I didn't do a sound check at the Meadowlands because Ray Gillen was like rehearsing with them.
I'm
your
saying
replacement. That with love because Ray was a good friend of mine. I was in a room after the show, and I heard somebody talking about the new singer to replace Glenn. My ears went, hello?
Yet what Iommi was sadly oblivious to, and depending on who you believe, possibly Gillen as well, was that his newfound frontman was already living with a death sentence, a case of full-blown AIDS that would go undiagnosed, despite Ray being visibly symptomatic as early as '88 and fucking every groupie in sight regardless. But more on that when I cover Badlands. Hughes was out, Gillen was in, yet what remained on record store shelves was this incredible, impossibly underrated album. My personal favorite of their fucking career, in fact. It ain't the Ozzy era, and it also wasn't trying to be. Best track, no contest, the semi-autobiographical Assault of Danger Zone. 7th star is 7 Kinds of Kick-Ass. Next.
77 to 91 was a dark place. And again, I do not remember the 80s.
He crammed for it, The good news, new singer Ray Gillen did finally take an AIDS test. The bad news, he crammed for it vociferously, fucking many a wide-eyed American groupie along the way, setting up what would become the victims of Ray Gillen in the litigative aftermath. Ever wonder why no post-2010 re-releases of this album include the Ray Gillen tracks? Ever wonder why the entire Badlands catalog did a dive bomb into a fucking memory hole?
And I was told that the reason they were given is because Ray was very sick. And in the end, he died of AIDS and he infected some women. And it was as a concession to the families that were impacted by this. They were told those records won't be on shelves anymore.
Which, I mean, I agree with. When someone's that kind of selfish bastard where they know they have that type of disease and they keep on fucking around and doing it without protection anyway, despite what, my father and, what other half acolytes of his generation would say, no, you're just being a self-important little bitch. Use a condom. Use a fucking condom. How suddenly my father would become all tradcath when it came to not using protection. No, that was a matter of you don't want to take responsibility for thinking with your dick. It has to be everyone else's responsibility. Like with, this jackass.
I've heard that, but I don't understand how that helps them in any way. If anything, propose that Ray's share goes towards them.
Now you know. Don't dig it? Maybe you should worship a singer that doesn't kill bitches with his caca cake crank. But I'll be upfront about this. Dong that doubles as a heat-seeking HIV torpedo or not, as great as Gillen's golden pipes were, Tony Martin, the man who would replace him after an utterly idiotic departure, kinda fucking smokes him regardless. Rise up to the shine.
Well, to be honest with you, I got completely confused. I didn't know who was in the band in the end. Who's in the band?
You got confused.
Yeah.
They kept calling me back. I mean, the first call I got for Black Sabbath was when Glenn Hughes was in the band. That's at the Seventh Star album. And I was put on hold because I was having problems with Glenn. Ray Gillen disappeared. And they needed a singer. And then I got the audition and I got the job.
What's more, as Tony would soon discover, Gillen couldn't write songs for shit. But Tony Martin could. Sure, he looks like a wood elf from Oblivion. Sure, he has the hairline of Count Von Count. But break it down musically, and Martin has more feel, tighter vibrato, less raps. Tony Martin is the titties, which gives him something in common with this fucking album. The Eternal Idol turned out to be a sorely ass needed assertion of Sabbath's stability, establishing the framework for what would be the band's most consistent lineup of the decade, which, considering Iommi spent the entirety of the 80s snorting half the coke crop in Colombia, is no mean feat in fucking deed. Energetic, darksome, and Aussie fanfucks. How does it feel knowing quite possibly the single doomiest track in the entire Sabbath catalog was sung not by the Prince of Narkness, but by Tony Martin, the man Sharon Osbourne gave the MIB memory wipe out of official Black Sabbath canon ever since the ill-fated fucking reunion.
The original members of Black Sabbath got together to perform 2 concerts in Birmingham, England, and record the first ever live Sabbath album.
This is the first official live album that we've ever done.
Kids have always been asking us for like an official live album.
While the Eternal Idol isn't the finest of the forthcoming Martin era, a slouch it fucking ain't. Ancient Warrior, The Shining. While much of the so-called classic Sabbath material gets weaker the more the radio rides its dope-smoking dick, the Eternal Idol gets better the deeper you go. Fuck, Lost Forever ain't until track 8, and it fucking savages. But for me, it's the occasional experiments with power metal that rip the hardest, as evidenced by an ode to all things metallic and masculine, Glory Ride. Was a soft reboot for Black fucking Sabbath. Full stop. And the fact that Ozzy's postmenopausal managerial maven is still insisting these do not in fact exist is a laugh and a goddamn half. But here's the hilarious bit. As great as this goddamn is, the Martin manifestation of the band had yet to hit its stride. But oh, it didn't take long for Black Sabbath to do precisely that.
After all the rubbish we went through from the Eternal Idol album, I signed with a new management. We decided that we need a good name band, name musicians for credibility, build the credibility up.
This is Cozy Powell from Black Sabbath.
Yep, and I'm Tony Iommi.
I mean, it's a great honour to come in and play for Sabbath. And I'm looking forward to this tour because I think it's going to be the best lineup that Sabbath have ever had.
We got Neil Murray, which is a bass player that I used to work with before. He came involved.
and Jeff Nichols did some keyboard work on the album. So we pulled the thing together from a very shaky start.
That's like where we used to live. I used to live there. Wiped out by the plague a few hundred years ago.
I've said it before, I repeat for posterity. Do not sleep on the Tony Martin era of Black Sabbath. If you do, you miss out on more than the latter-day dogshit Tony cranked out to fulfill fucking contractual obligations. You unwittingly rob yourself of your very first encounter with this beast of a record right here. Say what you want about the Martin era. Headless Cross is one of the band's finest albums, and by that I mean top fucking 5. Ever. And I assert this with every awareness. Dimming the lights, darkening the lyrics, and upping the atmospherics in equal measure, Headless Cross asserts a new identity for the band, both visually and musically, in an era where they couldn't get arrested in America, and every ink-stained shit stain in the music press would sooner write Iommi's obituary than review his fucking records. In short, it's Black Sabbath's late 80s answer to Heaven and Hell, and even up against that colossus, it holds its ground and doesn't budge the beginnings of an inch. Threatening promoters that they'd have no access to Ozzy in the aftermath. You know, I can't imagine who that might be about. And after endless flirtation stretching all the way back to Heaven and Hell sessions, having finally recruited perhaps the finest drummer in metal, Cozy Powell, and even allowing him to co-produce, if it was musical credibility Iommi was after, he had exactly the band to do it.
When Tony and I got together initially, I got a few ideas sort of scratched together on one tape, and I went up to Tony's house, and he said, "Oh, you want some riffs?" And he went into the cupboard and pulled out 4 bags, the shopping bags full of cassettes, and there must have been about 30 or 40 riffs on each cassette. So I reckon he should open a shop. Riffs for sale, proprietor Tony Iommi.
This album is utterly merciless. Black Moon, Nightwing, Headless Cross, but one of the album's immortal standouts comes only when you perk an ear to the midsection of moody doom metal masterpiece When Death Calls, for the familiar guitar strains of one Brian May, yes, of metal mythos luminaries, Queen.
He's been a good friend for 20 years, and so I think it's about time we had. I've never had another guitar player play on Sabbath album before, so it's quite a first now. But he's one chap is a definite exception, and I'm glad he did. Great player. Yeah, great player.
Good solo as well.
Queen meets Sabbath. If that don't send you screaming to the record store to hunt down Headless Cross, I don't know what the fuck will. Metal masterpiece. Get it, goddammit.
Many people, when they think of Sabbath, have got a definitive idea in their head what Sabbath means to them. You have to have the ultimate goal, which is what Sabbath is all about. And that's really what we're trying to do to continue the story. Where the story will end, my guess is as good as anybody else's.
Acrimony, Iommi's luck was no better than with Lita Ford.
What can you say, really? Can I have my ring back?
If you've ever listened to Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, or Rainbow and said to yourself, you know, I bet if Ronnie stayed in Sabbath, they would have eventually explored some full-blown Frodo in the Ring fucking power metal, congratulations! Your collective curiosity willed that album into existence, and its name is Tyr, the logical power metal progression from the Atramentus atmospherics of Headless Cross, and arguably its musical equal as well. If it suffers in any single respect, it's once again with the wonky choice of singles. Look, this ain't hard, IRS Records. First single, rocker. Second single, ballad. Warrant, Winger, and Rat got this down to a finely honed fucking science and printed more money than the Obama administration. Maybe you should try it sometime, because leading with a ballad, particularly for a band like Black Sabbath, makes the fanboys think we're in for a fruity-ass monster ballad showcase with Black Sabbath, which resoundingly is not the case with Tyr. This record rips, and it rips immediately. What you do have here, however, is more light and shade than traditional 80s Sabbath stuff. Plenty of slow acoustic buildups, followed by orgasmic metallic payoffs. It ain't the most commercial formula, and if Tyr has one Achilles heel, it was that. no immediately apparent metallic single. Damn near everything's an epic. Jerusalem, the Norse mythology trilogy of the Battle of Tyr, Odin's Court, and Valhalla. Even the ballad has a bit of a build-up here, but no matter how ponderous the acoustic bullshit could be at times, when Iommi tears into the inevitable payoff riff, it donkey punches you flush in the fucking Sabbath stones. Translated into relevance, or for that matter, sales, because we may have avoided the goat fuck that happened next.
But we worked pretty good, I thought, and I managed to get the band into a sort of position from being actually quite low. It was difficult for people to work with them at the time. There was kind of having jokes made about them because they had so many singers, but we built it up, and I thought we were doing pretty good.
But let's go and show you all one little bit of Ozzy with bubbles. I wanted you all to see what I was bringing up earlier. Yes.
Bubbles! Oh, come on, Sharon. I'm fucking Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of fucking Darkness. Evil, fucking evil. I've had a follow the fucking bubbles. When do the male models go on and start stroking them? Bubbles!
Yes, where are the bubbles? Oh. And well, to give you all a little good fun time, how about this? Here we are. Here it is.
Introducing the new Sydney Sweeney Dirty Mocha Chunky Cream Pie Latte. Each latte is served in this massive jug. Oops. Each latte comes with 10 pumps of vanilla syrup and 1 pump of my breast milk. Everyone knows I love nuts. Dunkin' Donuts. Go to your local Dunkin' Donuts today, walk past the unconscious heroin addict, and order the Sydney Sweeney Latte. Double D stands for Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, they should.
My genes are superior, and by that, I mean white with blonde hair. Don't check my roots. MAGA stands for My Ass Looks Great in American Eagle. Oh, sorry, I just took a huge shit. These are quality jeans, so 78% polyester and 100% German descent. It's an American staple, and by that, I mean the white part.
Who in your family uses the most slurs during the holidays?
Mommy.
Excuse me, what are you listening to?
Oh, my family fight about trans athletes.
Golden Doodle son or Pomeranian daughter? How much do you pay in rent? Mary kill the cousins.
Mom's side or dad's side?
Who in your family uses the most slurs during the holidays?
Mommy.
I thought that would just be a little fun. Or, of course, my own stuff.
From now on.
The nice tree they have up at Millennium Park. Steel Ford had to do with massive boobs. Yes.
Girl, but so if you've been living under a rock, you probably haven't heard that Sydney Sweeney was in an American Eagle commercial.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
Get it? Jeans? Jeans? Because she's attractive? And she is. I can see why men like her. She has a really cute face and a nice body. But personally, my favorite thing about Sydney Sweeney is that she's a Nazi. Did they mean to include a bunch of Nazi dog whistles in this? How the f did she agree to this? Actual Nazi ad. The only way Sydney Sweeney would be okay with doing an ad like this is if she was a Nazi. This is...
And then you wonder why I say that when it comes to the modern left, anti-Semitism is circumstantial. The same people that scream Free Palestine are then the same people that will point at Sydney Sweeney and scream Nazi, or Trump and scream Nazi, even though it's absolutely not true, but they are moronic that way.
Nazi shit.
Stop the ad! That it's being racist!
Some of you guys might be too young to remember, but back in the day when an ugly girl was jealous of a pretty girl, she would simply call her a whore. But that's a good thing now, so we have to call her racist. I am going to be completely honest, I have no idea what movies Sydney Sweeney is in. All I know, she is a very popular celebrity, and I always see discourse on Twitter about her being mid. What is wrong with you people? Who is not mid nowadays? I saw Anne Hathaway get called mid the other day. Anne Hathaway. If these women are mid...
I mean, yeah, let's all take one good long look at Anne Hathaway, and well, the nicest thing I've heard someone say about her is when my sister said she comes off like a person that talks too much. When it came to comparing different actresses that played Catwoman. And that's one of the nicer descriptions of Anne Hathaway I've heard from people. Especially other women.
I'm like a sub-zero. I'm like a -2. I am like a horseshoe crab on the bottom of the ocean. Horseshoe crabs are pretty base, though. 445 million years, no evolution. That's me. Millions of years on YouTube, no evolution. Sydney Sweeney has like a fun, bubbly personality. She seems like she enjoys being feminine, and it seems like she doesn't hate men, which is a big plus. She really plays into the, like, I'm a hot blonde bombshell, I have big titties thing, which, are we back to liking titties as a society? Didn't Kim Kardashian deflate her ass recently? That's how I knew the ass fad was over. The fall of Kim Kardashian's ass and the rise of Sydney Sweeney. Besides, ass, titties, no, I don't objectify women. I respect women, okay? The only thing that matters to me is a woman's mind. And thighs. What is like the male body equivalent to this debate? Abs or arms? Personally, I love a good forearm. I love a good, nice, thick, manly wrist. And you know what looks great on a wrist? A watch. Which brings us to today's sponsor, Holtzkern. So let's quickly give them a shout out before we get in. And now, let's get back to it. My jeans are brown. Sounds like I shit my pants.
The woke outrage over Sydney Sweeney's ad has gone from, well, bad to worse. Some people have taken...
Yes, women really hate that women for no... Women really hate that woman for no reason for the most part. Yeah. At the end of the day, it seems like Anne Hathaway gets a lot of hate for no really valid reason at all. I know Ryan Kennel probably hates her because she reminds him of another woman that told him no in high school. It's just that, you know, his punchlines are right-wing instead of left-wing, so somehow we're supposed to pretend on the internet that he's better than Patton Oswalt or Joss Whedon. Jeans have not looked this good in a long time. Yes, indeed.
An issue with the phrase great genes being used over images of a blonde, blue-eyed woman.
If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Trump should have done more hand signals than that. Like the fame when he first, you know, made "You're Fired" famous on The Apprentice, and the hand he did where it's like he's doing the snatching the pebble from the master's hand on Kung Fu. You're fired. If you watch when the pilot for The Apprentice, that little, when he doesn't just say you're fired, he goes, you're fired. Like he's not just taking the pebble from the master's hand, but he's not going to go and wander the desert. He's going to take the pebble from the master's hand, and then he's going to kick the master out of his own temple, and he's now going to run the Shaolin Temple. He's going to make the Shaolin Temple great again.
TikTok and Twitter absolutely blew up with thousands and thousands of people calling this ad fascist propaganda. Yes, they literally took the jeans and jeans pun to be some...
And yes. Respect cake and boobs. Long live the bakery and the milk truck. Yes. The milk truck driven by 90s Jennifer Connelly or Sydney Sweeney. Let's hope that when Sydney Sweeney turns 30, she doesn't wind up starving away her breasts like Jennifer Connelly did after Requiem for a Dream. If you remember, yeah, Jennifer Connelly was the 90s Phoebe Cates, and ever since 2001 or so, she now looks like Jared Leto in drag. If you look at how much she's been starving herself since, in 2000 or so, because she wanted to be taken seriously as an actress.
Kind of Nazi dog whistle, because Sydney Sweeney is an attractive blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, which apparently has been an extinct species for so long in advertisement that when people saw this, they got scared and thought they saw the ghost of Hitler. Is Sydney...
As opposed to Calvin Klein ads where it's an one-legged, overweight black woman with rolls of fat spilling over Calvin Klein pants.
Is Sweeney a Nazi? No. But do these people kind of have a point about this ad? Also no. They are unwell. But let's hear them out. Let's watch some of these TikToks.
They're not sick. They are sick and they're not well because their life is one living hell of social justice dogma and perpetual activism, such as the way that Karl Marx wants it to be. These are the type of women that if you put them in front of a black female bus driver or a black lady at the post office, they'd look at them and say, "You need Jesus, honey." Yes. Sad times. Let's hope that never happens. Yes.
Let's listen to them, listen to their points. We're not going to be mean. We're not going to own the libs, okay? We are going to hear them out.
You guys are complaining about that Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, so I went and saw it.
That's Nazi propaganda.
Holy 2014 Tumblr. What the out here looking like she walked straight out of a Stone Toss comic. Looking like
Kelly Sue DeConnick's idea of the perfect woman, or at least Portland, Oregon's idea of the perfect woman.
you're going on the thumbnail of this video. Listen, if your bangs end in the middle of your forehead, you don't have to tell me your political opinions. I know them. I can tell. Okay, sorry. I got it out of my system. Let's continue.
I will be the friend that's too woke because those Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ads are weird. Like fascist weird. Like Nazi propaganda weird.
So this
woman who thinks having a tranny flag behind her substitutes a personality and card control.
Commercial was apparently a reference to an old Brooke Shields commercial from the 80s.
The secret of life lies hidden in the genetic code. Genes are fundamental in determining the characteristics of an individual and passing on these characteristics to succeeding generations. This may result in the origin of an entirely new species, which brings us to Calvin's and the survival of the fittest.
Calvin Klein jeans.
Oh my god, she turns into a swastika. She was like 14 in that ad, by the way. Really creepy. So at least Sydney Sweeney is of legal age. 14 is actually pretty old for Brooke Shields if you know her history and her lore. If anything...
And the fact that Brooke Shields played an underage prostitute who got nude in a film called Pretty Baby, Vosh's favorite movie. But that's okay. But, her college boyfriend she lost her virginity to, Dean Cain, voting Trump, that is unforgivable and evil, according to Hollywood.
That is the most f***ed up thing about this Sydney Sweeney ad, referencing an old ad of a child star who was abused by Hollywood. But yeah, it was a callback to an old commercial. And Sydney Sweeney is the current day hot celebrity, so they chose to do it with her. They unfortunately failed to consider the fact that in current year, white people are not allowed to say that they have good genes because that is Nazi propaganda.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. Well, there was proto woke shit going on in the 90s. I will say that. There was definitely, even with shows like Roseanne. That's so funny with how Roseanne got othered in society and Hollywood and all that, considering her show did a lot of work to go and, promulgate left-wing leaning parasite talking points.
That could have walked straight off of a Nazi.
Lady, I get it. Your husband divorced you, and TikTok has rotted your brain. No wonder she looks like Ryan Kennel in drag.
Propaganda poster.
A white, blonde, blue-eyed, Hitler's wet dream talking about how much she loves her genetics. It's not just...
Well, maybe in the case of this woman, sometimes it's a good thing that, ginger side is happening in the media. Sometimes gingers shouldn't be heard or seen.
Hitler's wet dream talking about how much she loves her genetics. It's not just giving eugenics, it's giving male fantasy.
I like how eugenics and being attractive to men are like equally terrible things to these people.
Sydney Sweeney's jeans ad is giving ethnic state propaganda. It is giving dystopian. It is giving 1940s Germany.
Why do they all?
Really, bitch? Do you have any evidence to support that? You know, a bitch like her probably also thinks Vosh is interesting. And well, do you have a study to support that claim?
Speak the same. Why do they all do the same? They all say the same. It's giving. It's giving.
Put a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, fair-skinned woman in an ad and say she has good genes. I don't know if I can say this, but it's literally giving Nazi propaganda.
It's giving. Also, the flesh-colored microphone. Why? It's giving dick, okay? It's giving penis. It's giving cock.
I can't believe I actually have to explain this, but there is a reason that they picked a girl named Sydney Sweeney for this ad, and it's not just her blonde hair and her blue eyes. Sydney Sweeney is laying with her German Shepherd dog in this shoe. Her name is Sydney Sweeney, so her initials are SS. They intentionally included her German.
And this is the same woman that thinks that Alex Jones shouldn't be allowed in polite society, but she is screaming about things that aren't there. This is the same type of drawing conclusions that don't exist that are on the level of Mark David Chapman.
German Shepherd dog in the photo shoot.
Oh my God. Take your meds. Meds, 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 meds. Her name is Sydney Sweeney. Her initials are SS, like the Nazis. The dog is a German Shepherd, German, like the Nazis.
What happens when a feminist takes too much cocaine?
Are they putting crack in birth control nowadays? What is going on? She is a hot woman. She is a hot woman because of the way she looks. She looks the way she looks because of genetics. She has great genes. That is how a normal person sees it. She's blonde and has blue eyes and her initials are SS and she has a German Shepherd. Is how a schizophrenic, politically brain-rotted person sees it.
Hi, thanks for calling American Eagle. This is Jess. How can I help you?
Yes, everything about this woman wants to speak to your manager. And yes, she is making a TikTok of herself wanting to complain to American Eagle about the Sydney Sweeney ad. That's how much of an insane bitch that this woman is. I have a cold, and that I'm still far healthier than this woman will ever be. Me, on the worst of days, is still healthier than her.
Hi, I am a marketing student and was wondering if I could speak to someone who could maybe give me some insight as to what estimated return on investment there has to be willing to use white supremacy and eugenics as your marketing campaign.
On a marketing campaign?
Harassing some poor worker, doesn't even fucking speak English, has all to do with the commercial. These people are sick.
Yes, I recently saw American Eagle's eugenics.
This is the kind of woman who probably watches CNN, Don Lemon on CNN when she wanted to Jill off.
Marketing campaign where they used that white blonde girl and talked about how good her genes were in a time where racism is rampant in the U.S.
No, it isn't. The racism that's rampant is only in your mind. So that racism is only rampant in cities that are run by nothing but unhinged Democrat lunatics like you. Yeah, the women are crying about this are almost always sub-5s. Yes, because they're using modern political brain rot as an excuse for the same old personal, narcissistic reasons to be angry at pretty white people. Because the left were counting on making the personal political and using perpetual activism for whatever it is that they want, but then whatever people they can weaponize, like this bitch, oh, well, it's a matter of she wants revenge for high school because some woman who's prettier than her gets more attention. You know, like if Ryan Kennel was a chick.
I see. Thank you for taking time to share your feedback.
Why are you bothering this random ass Filipino woman with your West Wing ass TED talk? Nobody gives a
Okay, so there's no way to, as a student, I can't learn about when eugenics makes sense in marketing. No one on the marketing team can talk to me about that.
I miss like 50 years ago when these people would just be serial killers instead of doing whatever the fuck this is.
Well, unfortunately, for that crazy bitch, marketing is not the same as social engineering. Although knowing her, she definitely is one of those that would want the marketing degree, so then she can HR bully her way into getting in positions where trying to reinstate insane woke, jack off fantasies as the standard marketing push of the day.
She's even got other celebrities seething.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determined by
Did a dumb redneck voice, get it? Because all white people are dumb inbred hicks. Good one, Doja. Hey, by the way, why are you pandering to the same exact people who got your ass canceled for wearing a Sam Hyde shirt once? They all think you're racist too, girl, but nice try. Hope they see this.
Doja Cat is making fun of Sydney Sweeney's ad only because she realized after all those years of her kissing up to white supremacists, they're never going to accept her because she's a half black woman. Wearing the Sam Hyde shirt, you dating all these white supremacists. So make
Name one. Name one.
fun of the ad all you want, but we'll never forget you rolling around in those chat rooms showing white supremacists you're
conventionally within 5 moments she becomes visibly
Speaking of what would happen if Ryan Kennel was a male feminist,
over 25.
Enjoy the ride now, babe, before you get too old and ugly and hit the wall. But wokely. This is just
yes. Let's go and show you the full context of what would happen if Ryan Kennel was a male feminist with this guy. Showing you that the most ardent male feminist types are always the biggest actual misogynists you'll ever come across. Except Ryan Kennel himself. It doesn't matter who he votes for, he's still just a whiny little bitch-made man who wants to lash out at women and black people.
Weird adverts aside about how the best genes are characterized in a conventionally attractive white, blonde, blue-eyed woman. Not true. I mean, look at me. Within 5 years, or as soon as she shows any...
We get it. You were not getting laid as a teenager, and that has been haunting your psyche ever since.
Any sign of aging, that's it. The moment she becomes visibly over 25.
enjoy the ride now, babe, before you get too old and ugly and hit the wall. But wokely. This is just something I've noticed in the decade of criticizing feminism on the internet. Male feminists are the most misogynistic, sexist freaks ever when they finally have an acceptable, approved target to go after. God forbid you are a woman with the incorrect opinion, because hell hath no fury like a male feminist replying to you.
A strawberry blonde, blue-eyed woman marketing having great genes. This is
Oh, God. If this guy found success in show business, you know he would be having a wife dying under shady circumstances, exactly like Patton Oswalt.
It's just a whole fucking eugenics campaign, and I, for one, would like to throw myself off a balcony.
Do it.
Do it, bitch. I would say you'd be doing the gene pool a favor, but you already aren't going to be having any children anyway. So, do it. Nobody will miss you.
Do a backflip, live stream it. Also, these people just straight up don't know what the eugenics movement is. Talking about genetics is not eugenics. Sydney Sweeney did not say she had the best genes or superior genes or that other people had bad, inferior genes. Someone even made it like a fake ad, like Beyonce has better genes, and it's like, why'd you pick the picture where she has like a
And also, why is it, Beyonce, now with all the face surgeries and the hair extensions, trying to make herself look more like a blonde white woman?
blonde wig on?
This campaign is poking at women's greatest and most tender insecurity under the patriarchy, adversely affects the majority of.
Oh, God. Shut the fuck up. These are and when it comes to these type of male feminists or these modern feminist women, what is it that they go and point and scream at the most? They scream at it the way Alex Jones screams at whatever it is he's yelling at, the patriarchy, the imaginary enemy that goes and points at them. If you switch out the patriarchy with Illuminati, you're no different from an InfoWars motherfucker. So, eat your own words or shut the fuck up before my foot makes you shut up.
Hair dye and contacts for the rest of all time.
Okay, what? Are attractive women just not allowed to model anymore because, like, God forbid it makes some other women insecure? And as someone with brown eyes, I've never once felt insecure about having brown eyes. Like, yeah, I'm not going to get into hyperborea, but I've seen myself photoshopped with blue eyes. horrifying. So we've gone from Nazi propaganda to genocide to racism to now poor little girls are gonna feel insecure because they don't have blue eyes like Sydney Sweeney.
No, that's just the vacuous cover that narcissistic adult women use to exploit children for their own agenda. It's not about wanting there to be better role models for young girls. It's about using young girls to really just talk about themselves. Because with all left-wing activism, these people are always really, at the end of the day, talking about absolutely nothing but themselves. And that's not my opinion. I know I'm right.
Women's butts. What? The communist utopia will be ass-centric, apparently. I didn't know the ass versus tits thing was political. How does she know conservatives are all boob men? Conservatives in the audience, are you a boobs or butt guy? What political affiliation are the feet men? Libertarians. Listen, they can try to disguise it with their little intersectionality buzzwords all they want, but at the end of the day, women just want a socially acceptable reason to hate other women. That's it.
Good genes passed on to offspring? That American Eagle ad with Sydney Sweeney pandemic comfort is also
2025. We are talking about wearing masks for COVID in 2025. I like how she's woke scolding the other woke scolds for not woke scolding about her particular pet issue. COVID broke the brains of so many of these people, man. It's because it's when the world was just a giant, safe HR longhouse where it was socially acceptable for them to be moral busybodies and never leave their home. It was like the closest to their lib shit utopia that we have ever gotten, and they miss it.
I remember growing up in a predominantly white community, wishing that is why.
I'm sorry that happened to you, but we live in a predominantly white country. If you go to another country, there will be a different beauty standard. If you go to the country of your ancestors, there will be a different beauty standard. In order to pander to the female gaze, everything has to be like average and frumpy and ugly. Because women can't stop fucking projecting their insecurities. Not every character in a movie or a video game has to look like you. Not everyone in an ad has to look like you. Hell, the only time I see people who look like me is when I turn on the live action Grinch movie. You notice men never say this shit, by the way? They usually go like, wow, that man is strong. I don't look like that. I'm gonna go to the gym. And women are like, wow, that woman is thin. I don't look like that. I'm gonna go complain.
What makes Sydney?
Well, she's not wrong. Tranny freak.
Supposed to think that way, guys. That's double plus ungood. That's an obese, transgender, disabled woman or something. What would be an acceptable vision of the American woman for this person? It's insane she's saying that we think Sydney Sweeney is hot because of negative things that have been pushed on us by society. No, bitch, we have eyes. And just because she is attractive does not mean you are also not attractive. Look at your full lips. That is a standard of beauty I'll never live up to. That's okay, because I have other things that are beautiful and unique about me, just like you have other things that are beautiful and unique about you.
Like absolutely nothing.
Regardless if Sydney Sweeney is held up as the American beauty standard. These are lessons your mother should have taught you, not a YouTuber. Sydney Sweeney's ad shows a cultural shift towards whiteness. Advertisements are always mirrors of society, and sometimes, oh man, shut up. It's one thing when it's like a non-white person talking about how white people suck. It's like, okay, you're just racist. But when it's a white person talking about white people suck, you need to be ground up into a pulp and fed to livestock. You would honestly be more useful that way. Ads are always mirrors.
But that was really just an NBC article, so don't be surprised. And this is the last call, ladies and gentlemen. Last call for supers, last call for memberships, last call for pre-orders for Encrypted in my store. Because, yeah, as you can hear with my voice, I really should be resting this up, you know, and getting back to recovering for tomorrow so I can go and be able to completely have, you know, throat and everything back up into top condition. So until then, I want to thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel, hits 10,000 subs. Become a member today. And also shop for my artwork in my store with the first link in the description below, where you can buy my art or commission me or support me with a donation, or you can go and buy a copy of my comic Encrypted. You can get a regular copy for $5, an autographed copy for $10, or an autographed and sketched in copy for $20, or you can subscribe to the first year of the comic for $60, or you can subscribe to the first year of the comic with your copies autographed for $90. So until then, tomorrow I may have a video up and available, but for sure I will be streaming again at 10. So until then, Beelines, slam it, lick it, suck it, and see you, Space Guys.